Should I do a intro?
Yeah.
Probably. It's Saturday night. We got the heavy hitters here tonight.
Here we go.
All right. We've got people are coming in. Thank you to everyone. Get your comments in. We are, 30, 40 minutes before game time. I see a bunch of people jumping in. I'm Jason Blevins. He's Austin Krell. Begging for money somehow.
Listen, gotta make something out of this.
Wow, okay. All right. Begging for money. All right. We're starting off hot. What's up, Abe? Honest Abe Link. Honest Abe Lincoln Financial. Austin, you're a financial advisor, right?
I am someone who works in finance.
Works in finance.
For advice.
So we're going to be here all night with you guys. We are going to have a watch party. We're going to watch the Sixers. For those of you who may not know, a lot of you probably do. Austin and I cover the Sixers for the Painted Lines. It's a road trip. Neither of us are on that road trip. Austin is in an undisclosed location.
That's right.
In the tropics.
I am currently in a trench or in a
trench.
Whatever the what's the word for it? The place where people go to hide during like an apocalypse.
A bunker.
Bunker. I'm in a bunker. Yes.
Yeah. Is that an iguana-proof bunker, Austin?
No. We actually. Well, yes, it is iguana-proof, but the smaller versions, whatever they're called. What's up, Francisco? Not the lizards, but you know what I mean, like the ones that you can like cut the tail off and they'll still like survive, whatever.
Yeah, they're geckos, or they chameleons.
Chameleons. Yes, that's it. We walked into the house and there was one like on our floor, just making himself at home. So
of course, why not?
Yeah.
Of course. All we have to deal with up here in the Mid-Atlantic are like raccoons and squirrels and possums and fox. I saw a coyote. I was riding the bike the other night, and I'm pretty sure it was either a really big fox or a really small coyote. Yeah, we are going to be Serge. There's our man. Serge, for those of you who know, also covers the Sixers. He covers the Sixers for Trendbasket, a European outlet, covers the Philadelphia Union for us. What's up, Serge? And we're going to be hanging out tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, mostly Sixers, I guess, right? So, Austin, do you want to were you on Doc's presser?
I was on the presser.
Give us thoughts.
One thing I was kind of thinking is he said that all three of Tobias, Embiid, and Simmons were all like game time. Like he didn't say those words, but he implied that they were game time decisions. And I was kind of thinking, like, of the time that we've been able to watch Joel and Ben together, and now I guess with the three of them, how many times have all three been game time decisions, and then all three actually played? I would, Krell, that's right. What's going on, Marky? I am skeptical that all three will play. The docs seem to think that there was a chance, but I would, if I had to bet, I would say at least one of the three is not going to play. And to be honest, the Pistons give up 111 points per 100 possessions. They're better than you'd think they'd be at 3-12 defensively, but still not very good. And I mean, like, they're bottom 10 in the league. So the Sixers, this should be a game that you can win without having one of your three best players available if you need to have.
Yeah, I worry about that though. I don't. I was thinking about it while he was talking, and the sort of time had passed where if I was going to ask a question, it was too late really to raise my hand. I feel like this team, one of the downsides to the team, the way that they're built, is that roles are so well defined that if you start to remove pieces, the whole thing just doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say they have more talent, they should beat a 3-12 Pistons team. But like Tobias is good because of Seth Curry and Joel Embiid and the attention that they draw.
Joel Embiid is available to play tonight.
Right. So Tobias feasts in those open spaces that are created by a Seth Curry and a Joel Embiid. All the parts make sense. They're well constructed, but they don't have a lot of freelance type players, right? Furkan Korkmaz is not going to just take the ball, say, get out of my way, and go carry you to a victory.
Well, he might, but it won't end well.
Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton are the closest things you have to a sort of any situation. They can sort of handle the ball and deal in a freelance environment. The rest of these guys are very much like, I'm not going to call them unitaskers, but they are fit guys. They fit together. They make sense together better than they would on their own. And I think that's part of the problem with valuing them in trade talks. And I think it's part of the problem with just not having some of them on nights.
Yeah, but I think Doc hit it on the head. They haven't been able to win games without having guys available. They've had to that they have to turn to a point where they can win games and be able to, and without having the perfect scenario. You have to win games in an environment that might be a little bit uncomfortable for you. And so, and that's what the good teams do. So ideally, obviously, you play them, as often as you can, but the best teams win those games without when their best player has to take a night off. So, obviously, it's a good thing that Embiid's playing tonight because you want to win as many games as you possibly can, and having him obviously maximizes those chances. But having said that, this would have been a good opportunity. Maybe they dominate tonight and Doc thinks they don't have to play Joel on Monday. We'll see. But another thing is that I think is also important. You have to beat the teams that you are supposed to beat. And you can't take those opponents for granted. You can't, if you can help it, you have to play everybody you can play, because you need to beat those teams that you're supposed to beat markedly. And so, we'll see. But I think the big question is now available. So we'll see. They should be fine with even if one of Tobias or Ben has to miss, but we'll see. I think it helps that Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin aren't going to play tonight. Although Blake Griffin's been horrible this year.
Yeah, I think
Tobias Harris is going to play as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think
all three are going to play.
What you're saying is they want to build some cohesion. They want to build some continuity, and that's important. No excuses tonight. Serge is coming in hot. Watch out. I don't know if Nadir's in here yet, but I hope not. Isaiah Joe should play more. Furkan isn't showing much. He's been back for 2 games now. 1 game?
No.
2 games, right? He was back for both Boston games.
Furkan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was back for both. I'm curious to see what that tryout period looks like, where they're like, okay, this is Furkan's chance, because he has to make above 40% of his open threes if he's going to stick in this rotation. I just don't think there's a world you can play him over guys like Isaiah Joe if he's not.
He will hit 40% of his open threes.
We'll see.
Well, he will. It's just he's a 40% open 3 shooter. He is. There was one we had the angle the other night with Boston in town where there was a pass to him in the corner, and on its way, the way he was set up, I was like, oh, that's it. Like the pass was still coming to him. It hadn't even arrived yet. He's still moving down into the corner. The pass is going there. I'm like, that's money. He's a guy that if you bump him a little bit, if you don't hit him in the pocket, if he's off rhythm, then he's inconsistent. But it's all about fit. It's all about hitting him in rhythm, and he can flat out shoot it. I'm not that worried. I know he's very polarizing. I'm not that worried about him because I don't think he's he's not a 6-man level player. He's a back of the top 8, top 10 rotation type player. I think Isaiah Joe is going to hit the rookie wall, but he should get playing time. I'd like to see him play 5 to 8 minutes a game, really, until his legs start to give out. Because I think playing time is important.
Oh yeah. Having said that, historically with rookies, that rookie going into sophomore season summer is when you really start to see guys, they get NBA shape and NBA physicality. Mm-hmm. That skill starts to build up on itself. It's really kind of remarkable what that first, what those first couple summers can do for a guy in terms of transforming the body and adding those skills. Like it's like you get them in an NBA gym with NBA trainers, and it's a world of difference.
Yeah, just going from 30 games in a year to 80 games in a year is a big transition. Even in the Euro guys, they don't play that many games. It's a big transition just to day after day practice, play. But I think Joe, I'd personally like to see Joe head to the G League bubble in Orlando because I just want to see him get enough time on the floor. I hope they do that, and bring him up maybe periodically. I don't know how long that bubble will last. I think it goes until sometime in March. I got the email yesterday. I need to send it to you in case you want to go to some of those games. All right, let's hear Ferk. Ferk did airball 2 different shots.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny because he airballed those 2 floaters, and then the next possession down, he hits this contested 3, like in transition, and you're like the ultimate stereotypical like white guy, just missing the floaters off movement, but then comes in and buries the 3 in transition.
Well, I just think he's a competitive person who was a little bit embarrassed, and and that is a good thing. You're gonna get thrown off at times, especially the first couple of games back. But do you dig down deep and lock back in, or do you let it defeat you? Speaking of digging down or letting it defeat you, I think we have some comments about Ben Simmons' fourth quarter the other night. Why don't you talk a little bit about Ben Simmons in that fourth quarter versus the first 3 quarters?
Yes, I would like to make a couple points here. And this isn't just from the Sixers. I think this applies across like all sports. With like reporters like Jeff McClain for the Eagles, whatnot, and everyone everyone says like there are examples where he's like been given fake news and all this different stuff because then a player comes out and refutes something.
It's never fake news. Promise.
It's never fake news. Ben Simmons can say that he doesn't go on Twitter or Instagram. He's a 24-year-old. He's a human. He obviously goes on those platforms and sees what people say about him. And he also knows who have he also is smart enough to know which members of those, social media communities that drive narratives have the biggest voices. He knows who those are for the Sixers and their community. And he knows that, by saying I don't give a fuck, honestly, he knows that's sort of sending a message to people that have big followings that are, driving narratives. And I think, it was good to hear him say that, but there's no question in my mind that he surveys what people say about him. He can't help it. It's part of the life of what the world that we live in now. If I can guarantee you he's on Instagram. How can I guarantee that? Because that's how athletes find, people in other cities who they would like to interact with when they're on road trips.
All right. Settle down. Now talk about his fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter. So I thought he was incredibly aggressive in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, I just thought that something came over him and something really clicked for him. He was jumping passing lanes. He was really aggressive getting downhill. I thought getting downhill was huge for him. And it wasn't like the same way how they usually how sometimes they'll run like split screens where you dump it into the post and then a guy comes flying around the corner by the middle of the lane and you give it to that guy and it's Ben, getting to the rim. He was like handling the ball full court, evading defense and one-on-one coverage, and getting right to the rim. He drew a foul at Marcus Smart. Got to the free throw line. The free throws is something I've been looking at. He's been getting better with the free throws, and you would think with someone who, I think is in his head a little bit, the free throws would be one of the biggest obstacles. But he's kind of looked better at the line this year.
Yeah, I would say the other thing I would add to your comments about fourth quarter is the approach that the Sixers had offensively the last two games was different. And the Celtics adjusted throughout the game to what the Sixers were doing. And that adjustment started to create those open driving lanes that he exploited late. And he did absolutely dig down and stop that run that the Celtics had where it got pretty dicey around 5 or 6 minutes. He dug down and he attacked relentlessly. And that defense, the Celtics defense, call it late in the game, late in a road trip, whatever it was, it started to create cracks. And but the other thing that I think was nice to see is he was obviously just feeling it and finishing with a touch that we just haven't seen from him in quite some time, if ever. So it was very positive. But don't expect it from the jump. I think that if he comes out with that approach early, I think the Pistons will create the sort of the wall around the restricted area, and then it'll be up to other people. But if they feed the post early, if they run DHO actions with Seth Curry early with Embiid in a two-man game, then everything else opens up for Tobias and for Ben. And that's when you'll start to see Ben get downhill. I just think it's like all of these things are complementary and work with each other. And it's what you start with, what the other team decides to take away, what the other team can live with. So I think he was very good in a crucial moment. All right, what am I missing? What do we got in comments? A lot of Ferk stuff. Boy, we got a lot of Ferk stuff. Always. Okay, let's go to my man Marky.
I was going to chat you. I should not have brought up that idea.
No, we're not talking about that. So we're not talking about that.
I learned my lesson tonight. Okay, well,
we're not having that conversation.
Don't push into that. Okay. What I will say, not about that, but I thought that he was massive in that fourth quarter. He was really everything in that fourth quarter for them. He and Joel combined for 22 points. Ben, I think, generated 19 of the Sixers' 31 points in the fourth quarter. But there's going to come a time where you need him to do that more consistently. Why? Because, last night was the first time that you saw all three of them fire on a high cylinder throughout, in a game. Like Joel was dominant throughout. Tobias had 23. He was getting more touches after the first Boston game when Doc said he wasn't getting enough touches post game. And then lo and behold, yes, last night he was getting a lot of touches. And then Ben comes alive in the fourth quarter. When they all clicked like that, they were up by 3 with 4 minutes left. And then literally a minute and a half later, they're up 11. So, I mean, the game changed on a dime, with Ben just turning the corner on everybody. And, it was really, really, really good to see. The thing about with him that I think we have to come to understand, I think he has to come to understand too, he's just never going to be able to win with this fan base, no matter what he does. Because if he decided to start shooting jumpers, but for whatever reason, and he's obviously not going to make a lot of them. If he starts missing them badly, everyone's going to laugh at him. If he doesn't take them at all and isn't aggressive, people are going to kill him for not taking jump shots. So he has to just say, he really does have to have the mentality of I don't give a fuck, to be honest. And I think the sooner he can sort of just block out all the noise and then just get back to where he was last season, with he was constantly downhill. You really couldn't stop him getting to the rim. And he did that with less spacing than he has this year. He was able to do that still. So, I think with that, this team is molded and built in a way that he should be able to, once he finds his stride, maintain that energy.
Yep. I don't agree that he was downhill at will last year, but okay. We got Joe Ingles. What are your thoughts on Joe Ingles?
I love Joe Ingles. I think I think he's the glue of that Utah Jazz team. He's the heart and soul of what they do. I mean, he's really evolved so much. There was a time when he wasn't this like multi-dimensional playmaking shooter, stretch four guy, and now he's evolved where he can pump fake, beat a closeout off the line, and then rope a cross court pass to a shooter on the other side of the court. Like he's not a superstar, obviously. He's not athletic, really. He's getting older, but he's really figured out how to be a productive playmaker and a really important glue guy for the Jazz. And I know they love him in Utah.
Yeah, they love him. Do you only like him because he kind of looks like you?
What? Me? Joe Ingles doesn't look like me at all.
No, not for another 10 years. What's up, Greg? A little inside baseball. Greg is my cousin, and this was the first Christmas, I think, for his entire lifetime where we didn't have a family Christmas party where all the aunts and uncles. Greg and I have basically our parents are one of 10. So what's up, Greg? We talk Sixers at the Christmas parties and all kinds of stuff. So he's saying he wants to see more lineup combos, Max and Shake at the 1-2. I think it's pretty clear that those 6, 7, 8 man right now are Maxey, Shake, and Dwight. And those are our two guards. We'll see. What are your thoughts on Maxey? He had a couple of rough games, rookie type games.
Well, I think with those guys coming back, with the keep in mind he did all of his heavy lifting with Embiid, Simmons, and Harris essentially out of the mix. And I mean, those weren't empty calories. He showed that he's got a lot of layers to his game. But I mean, he had a really high usage, and he took advantage of those opportunities with three of the top 4 options on the team back into play. The touches went down, and but I mean, he was still like the outside shooting is going to come with time. The more impressive thing was that he was able to get to that floater, get to the middle of the lane, and make those floaters. Having a guard that can make floaters with consistency is something this team hasn't had. I guess since Jimmy Butler, but even he really wasn't a floater type guy. He was more of an off the like a plant and then rise up in the mid range kind of guy.
Yeah, I think the main thing is he's not turning the ball over. I feel bad because his game has sort of taken a nosedive since I asked Doc about teams challenging his midi pull up and his floater, and will he start to look for other guys in those situations? But he when you go into his eye test is great. His turnover percentage is awesome, right? So I'm going into it. A 7.1% turnover percentage a rookie guard is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean about like per 100 possessions, it's only 7 turnovers. It's incredible.
It is incredible, except part of it is because he's not really playing point guard. He's playing as a 6'2" guard. I think it's great. I think it's fine. I think it's everything you can ask for. But there are things I want to see from him because I think his projection really has to be more of the combo true point guard. Real quick, before we move on to Shake, because I think we have a conversation to be had about that as well. Deibler is taking off tonight playing Mario Kart. I want to see in the comments, which character do we think Chris Deibler plays in Mario Kart?
Princess Peach.
I knew you were going to say that. Let's see in the comments what people think.
I will say about tonight, though. I think for the fans, this is going to be I think we might see another like 20 free throw game from Embiid tonight because I mean they love Isaiah Stewart in Detroit. His energy. It's also ultra physical for a rookie. And he likes the battle. He's going to have those arms out. I think this is a game where you might see him foul out in like 28 minutes of play. And they're struggling to try to fill that center position because it's a beautiful, like Embiid must be smiling ear to ear. He's going to take some hits, but smiling ear to ear that he can basically live at the free throw line tonight. Wow.
So you're saying Joel Embiid will get a Detroit Piston starting center in foul trouble early. Wow. When have we ever seen that?
Detroit basketball. Let me ask you this: with like the whole Shaq thing the other night with Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I get it. It's like for cute TV and like with like TNT. I just don't get what the value is of having those little like spouts back and forth like that. Like it's not good television.
Are you talking about it 3 days later?
Damn it.
I mean, come on. To me, it's fine. Like, Shaq comes from an era of shit talkers. Like, he comes from an era that is pre-internet troll where you sit behind a keyboard anonymously and throw your little barb. He's from an era that if you're going to say something in the green room while you're just shooting the shit, you have to say it to the person's face. And that's where it comes from. It's really not like some calculated Shaquille O'Neal's thinking about getting social media fired up over this interaction. It's legitimately, he was probably saying something and was like, I'm talking shit behind this guy's back. I better say it to his face. And that's sort of the Gen X mindset, right? Talk all the shit you want to someone's face. Don't say something that you won't say to a person's face. I think it's a generational thing, and I think people are mortified by it. People are mortified that he did it and made an awkward interaction on a 24, 25-year-old kid. But that's a generation. And quite frankly, wouldn't you rather have somebody talk their shit to you? Maybe you'd rather it not be on camera. Maybe you'd rather them take you aside. But come on. Anybody watch Shaq during his career knows that's just Shaq, right? So I don't know. It did to me. It was like nothing. I didn't watch it, but I was surprised when I'm seeing all this outrage over it. I'm like, what?
Well, so here's my thing, and this is coming from a rookie reporter. So I mean, I obviously haven't seen a lot yet, but you don't get a ton of access to these guys, and so the fact that you use your one question on something that is such an obvious question that he's probably rehearsed the answer for a million times. Like, ask something better than that. Like, the more you can elicit a more insightful answer.
Sure, for you, right? That's Shaquille O'Neal. He'll ask whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, Shaquille's not worried about like crafting. I saw the tweets today about how well crafted Larry King was asking short questions. Give me a break. Larry King had people on for an hour He was interviewing people for an hour. That's a whole different thing than you having to go into a 15-minute press conference, raise your hand, get in the queue, hope that your question wasn't taken by the guy right before you.
Always is.
We talk about this all the time. And then having it perfectly crafted so it's articulated in 5 seconds and prompts a 30-second answer. That's not what Shaq is there for. Shaq is Shaquille O'Neal. He's an icon. He's a legend. He is a legendary trash talker. He is there to provoke. He is there to show us all the side that is not media trained, the side of these guys that is in the locker room when no one else is around, that the stuff that they would say to each other, right? Not the stuff that when they put the headset on and they've thought about it and they contemplate and give us the well-crafted answer, right? Shaq's not LeBron James. The LeBron James era of always giving us the measured, crafted answer, it's not where he comes from, right? Jordan was really one of the first to do that. Dr. J was one of those, but Shaq is a brash, Charles Barkley, brash, outgoing people. It's just, I liked and Donovan Mitchell, I liked his response. His response was perfect.
I like that. That was good.
He's like, all right.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good.
Okay. You said your piece. To me, I had no problem with the interaction at all. All right, let's talk about something else. Nobody cares about those people. If they cared about TNT, they wouldn't be on listening to us. So let's talk about something else. All right, so we're gonna. Marquise says, early dominant game from the Sixers. All right, start playing clean in road games. I do agree with that. Right? That is one thing. They know that their reputation is dominant on the road, at home, struggle on the road. Still, I think they're below 500 on the road this year.
2-4.
Yeah. So I think that's true. They probably do want to play, dominate, and start putting that narrative to rest.
Yeah. I'm curious because I was disappointed last night that from what I observed, I didn't see a whole lot of change in the game plan for Kemba. I thought he and Jaylen Brown were still walking into open jumpers off of the screens. Like the drop coverage was rampant last night. And I thought that was a really good opportunity for Doc to sort of flex. Like I can make adjustments. Now, obviously, he doesn't want to show his cards in the 20 games into the season when the playoffs haven't even taken place yet. And he'll probably do that. But I mean, you want to start seeing different things.
Here's what I would say. How many points did Daniel Tice have the other night?
He had 21 first game, and then last night he had like maybe 11.
Okay, so there's your adjustment. So I think what they can live with is taking the lead guard, keeping everybody in front of you, having him knock down 18 and 20 footers in your face. What they can't live with is that and layups and dump offs to your centers. So Tristan Thompson had 4 points, 2 of 6, and Daniel Tice had 7 points. So they closed off those outlets. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is the adjustment. So I wouldn't focus too much on the lead guards putting up big numbers. Let's look at how many. So Kemba had 19 points, but he needed 16 shots to generate those 19 points. That's the stuff you can live with. Marcus Smart, who was dominant in the first game of the series, 20 points on 17 shots, 7 for 17. They combined for 15 of 33 and 39 points. That's the kind of efficiency you can live with. Who was hurting them was Jaylen Brown, who, just played a hell of a game.
He's a stud. He should be an all-star. What's really interesting about tonight's game is like these Pistons team is 3-12, but they really you think they'd be the bottom 3 in every defensive category, probably something like that. They're really not. They're only giving up less than 50 points in the paint every game. Their opponents aren't scoring a ton in fast break. In fact, they're top 5 in the league in fewest points given up in fast break. And the opponents can score a lot on turnovers. So they're actually kind of playing well in some ways, like ways that you wouldn't expect for a 3-12 team. So I guess it's got to be on the offensive end I guess that makes sense when you're starting Miles Plumlee and that gives you really nothing offensively, and the whole entire thing runs through Jeremy Grant.
Didn't they pay Plumlee the same amount that Christian Wood got?
I think they gave
similar contracts.
I forget.
Insane.
It was like 3 years, 20-something million for Plumlee, which I thought was a massive overpay. Yeah. Like that I think he's worth like below the MLE.
I'm not a huge fan. I think that Jeremy Grant is scoring 25 a game right now. Let me look at how efficient that is, but
he's had an unbelievable year. And I really like, at first I questioned the move, but then I heard his reasoning, and it was like I wanted to play for like a black coach and a non, he didn't want it to be like a very white organization, which I thought was noble and a good cause. And he's playing unbelievably out of his mind. But I think there's a limit to what you can do with him averaging 25 points per game. They're 3-12.
Well, he's doing it on 59% true shooting, so it's pretty damn good.
No, it's incredible. It's incredible. But the
reality is Grant is a tweener. He's a really nice player. Comes from like a family, his father and uncle, super smart players, like very well crafted, always in the right position, just super professional players. So he is going to get all of the finer points of the game. I think he does have a lot of upside. I just don't know. I'm not a big believer that position on the floor is one that you can carry a winning team to. So it's not surprising to me that they'd be 3-12 while needing to get 25 points per game out of their undersized power forward. I know he's a tweener, but
well, I think like what this has like shown us is that like there's like what is the ceiling for a team in which he's the number one player, and like the fact that they're 3-12 tells you that like he's a really, really good complementary piece, but you need to have more than that. Cool.
Sorry, I didn't turn the game on and mute it. I think that's exactly right. I think teams are going to be happy to let Jeremy Grant try to beat them. And carry the team. And I think you're seeing this a lot in the NBA right now. You're seeing teams, we've talked about it a lot. You're seeing teams decide which player on the other team they want to beat them and not get into scramble mode where they have a lot of complicated rotations that they have to get into. So they choose a guy, and it might be Kemba Walker one night, and they say, okay, you beat us. Or it might be Jeremy Grant tonight, or it might be you name the middling team, and they have one guy that I think is getting a lot of shots and getting the green light because the other teams are they don't think that one person can carry them. So you're going to have some 50-point games. You're going to have some 40-point games from names you aren't used to. But those don't necessarily translate to playoff level basketball. All right, Austin. Willard, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Good question. It's not a question, but a comment. Austin, Villanova guy, Kyle Lowry. How would he fit in the Sixers? are they a Kyle Lowry away from going to the NBA Finals?
You go first. I got to take care of something first.
All right. I haven't watched enough Kyle Lowry this year. I love what Kyle Lowry does. I think he's he's like Marcus Smart before Marcus Smart was Marcus Smart, but he's also a much better offensive player. I just don't know where he's at as far as losing a step. And I want to watch him. And I am actually going to the Raptors. They're playing out of Tampa next month. Sixers are going down for 2 games. I'll be down there in the house for that. I will have a much more, much stronger opinion on this after I see him in person. I think there's nothing like it's just totally different seeing guys in person. You're able to watch away from the ball. You're able to watch a lot of other things versus seeing on the camera, which the camera is following the ball. So I don't know that I have a take. Austin, are you ready to give your take?
I'm ready to give my take. So what I'll say is this. I think Kyle Lowry can do a lot. He can kind of play that Kemba Walker role where he can sort of elude guys around the pick and roll, get into the paint, get downhill, and kind of poke his butt out and draw fouls at the rim in the same way that like Kemba does. Like you saw that a little bit last night. For bigs that are in foul trouble, he can sort of manipulate them and to either give the rim up or commit another foul. He's a fine shooter. I just think that I don't think he's enough. To be honest, I just don't think he's enough on the offensive end of the court to be that guy that is going to push them over the top. I think you need Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine. I think that's just what it is.
Well, I think I agree with you. Guys like Lowry are floor generals who run an offense for you. You turn the keys to the offense over to them. Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry. Give me another pure point guard that you do that with. There aren't that many of them.
Like Monte Morris?
Okay. I mean, good. Actually, good ones.
Monte Morris is a very good point guard.
Steph, like you put the ball in their hands, you say, okay, you're going to initiate everything. And I don't know that this team unlocks Ben Simmons' potential if you hand the keys entirely to another pure floor general type point guard.
Jimmy Butler that didn't end well.
It didn't end well. It worked at times. It didn't always work. So, Abby, thank you for joining us.
How about the Heat at 7 or like 6 and 8, 6 and 9?
All right, no comment on the Heat. We're not playing the Heat tonight. So anyway, I think that Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal play well enough off ball and can attack in secondary actions that you don't have to completely take Ben Simmons out of your half court offense, where you can mix and match it. But I think a Kyle Lowry, I mean, he's a league average 3-point shooter. There's a lot of good stuff, but again, I don't know that I buy it. He is a depreciating asset. I don't know that I believe he would help this team as much as we'd like it to. A couple of years ago, maybe, for sure. Now, not so much.
Well, so like Willard says, let me know when they beat the LA teams or Brooklyn. I got news for you. The Nets just lost 2 games to the Cavaliers, and their lack of defense was on full display. And so, I mean, they're going to be banking on a buyout market, which, by the way, might not even materialize because teams are going to be playing the play-in tournament 8 to 10 seeds. So teams are going to be in this thing late in the season. Buyouts might not be there. So I'm not convinced that this Nets team is going to be all that. I mean, the other night they let a long offensive rebound drop in the middle of the paint, and then a Cav came in and like, it was like Jetty Osman came in and like dunked it home for an offensive rebound. They were down 14 with 3 minutes left. They had a chance to come back in that game and make it interesting. And what happened? I mean,
I'm not that worried about that because I think the last year LeBron was in Cleveland, that team was like near the bottom in defense throughout the season. Game has started, by the way. Let's do a time check. I'm at 11:52. Where are you at on the clock?
what?
Let's figure out if I'm behind you or ahead of you in the watching.
The game hasn't started for me yet.
Okay, so you're significantly behind. That's good to know. One of the things on these live streams is we're watch partying. Everyone's in a different time. I don't want to be reacting to makes and misses if you haven't seen them yet. So I think that Cleveland put it together in the playoffs. And I've talked to people in the clutch camp that were very close to that whole situation with Ty Lue and with LeBron. They used their regular season purely to try out different play styles, different ways to just different ways to operate. And when the playoffs came, they really knew who they were, and they had a ton of different options when it came to matchups. So I wouldn't worry too much about the Nets yet. I think they'll be very difficult to beat in a 7-game series. They're not deep. I think you make a great point about the buyout market, though. I think that's a really strong point. But as we
have them, but when I do, they hit.
Yeah, you have. Hey, that's why we keep you around. You're the home run hitter. Bunch of strikeouts, and then boom, 400 feet. Upper deck. Bielitsa, though, is available and probably really cheap right now. So I wonder if they throw something at the Kings for a Bielitsa.
I would bet my top dollar they do.
Yeah.
I would bet my top dollar they do.
Yeah, and I don't know what they have. I don't think they'd want to throw a Landry Shamet, who's fallen out of the rotation. You
meant the Nets. I was thinking the Sixers.
The Nets. I don't know. I mean, Bielitsa had a verbal agreement and then yanked it.
But that was under a different regime, and the Kings were giving him way more money. But I mean, it's very clear to everyone that they don't have a backup power forward.
Doc said it this afternoon, right? But in pregame, he said if Tobias doesn't play with Mike Scott out, they don't have a power forward. So, and I think he's exactly the type of stretch four that they would love to have on this team. Absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
How are fans going to feel about that? The guy verbally agrees and then pulls out.
Listen, I think if Nemanja Bjelica makes a big defensive play down the stretch in a game and hits a big three, I think they'll forget about the fact that he took more money to go to Sacramento. I don't care about that, to be honest.
They'll forget right up until he misses a wide open three in the middle of a second quarter on a Tuesday, and then they'll remember again. Come on.
Fair. So Ben Simmons has 4 points already or 3 points?
I don't track points during the game.
Because for me, it's 4 points because he just made a shot and then 2 free throws. So
I'll let you be our statistician or one of the commenters. I try to watch style of play.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to write tonight with the watch party.
Just turn your otter on and just post the transcript.
Fair.
So Embiid starting hot and looking good. You'd hope that they can create some space, play him. That's that cross court stuff. You're behind me, but they just got away with just that lazy. It's the worst pass in basketball, cross court. A good team picks that off. That's a pick six. You're about to watch it happen, I'm guessing.
Carson Wentz must be in town.
Well, I hate that pass. And Curry managed to retrieve it, the tip, and convert it anyway. But I hate that pass. I think it was Tobias that threw that. What do you think of the Detroit's Motor City uniforms?
I think they haven't had a good uniform in like 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go into the other rooms. That way my dad can watch in peace.
Okay. All right, here's one. Let's look at this. Maxey Green, Danny Green, 3 first-round picks for Zach LaVine. Who says no? I think that it is. I think there are a couple of different ways to make a LaVine deal work. I'd have to look at their picks. They obviously could come up with three first rounders, but you have to look at, if you were Chicago, how do you value the Sixers first rounders if you're putting a 23, 24-year-old Zach LaVine on a team with a 24-year-old Ben Simmons and a 26-year-old Joel Embiid? Another sloppy pass from Tobias that Detroit is not able to convert. Really just not great.
The Pistons
Those are
a young team.
Those are the turnovers that the Pistons have to get, right? The sloppy passes, you have to make the team pay for those. You saw Charlotte came in, turned the Sixers over 16 times in the second half. That's the way that a bad team or mediocre team has to play with Philly. They're just not going to be able to score with them. So anyway, back to LaVine. I think there are a number of ways LaVine just fits in the salary spot where there are a number of different ways to make it work. I think you'd probably have to put Matisse Thybulle in that deal. Just Mark Eversley, former assistant GM for the Sixers, is the GM in Chicago. He was part of the team that drafted Matisse. He's probably part of any deal for Zach LaVine. Austin?
Yeah, and I think there should be no qualms about having to give up Zach LaVine or having to give up Matisse Thybulle in a deal to get a 27.3 game scorer.
Yeah, and let's face it, LaVine is not going to be a 27-point scorer on this Sixers team, but the way that he scores, I think, would really help this team.
As a shot creator, sort of calm.
Just a ton of different ways.
Yeah,
different ways.
And I think the off the dribble scoring is paramount. What am I missing? What happened?
Nothing. I was just watching. You'll see it. It's nothing crazy. You didn't. Okay, even including Danny or Scott.
For me, it's at 6:37 in the first quarter.
I'm at 6:30. Defensive rebound by the Sixers. The game is tied 16-16.
Tobias. We're almost at the same spot.
Yep.
This would be a really good game for Ben to take a 3.
Well, and you're about to see it. Ben is flashing a little bit of touch here. Around 6 foot, and if he can convert 6-footers, that is a game changer for him, because he's really only been able to convert dunks mainly, or transition layups maybe. Even the 6-footer, even the baby hook, those things are all game changers for him, because the way that teams are able to stop him when they focus on it is creating that wall. So if he can just extend out, it doesn't have to extend to 15, 18, 24 feet. It really only has to extend out to 6 or 8 feet.
Yeah. I do believe I saw him miss a layup pretty badly, but it was as his misses usually are, wrong hand, wrong foot. So that's another thing that.
Hey, I sent you those articles about being left-footed.
Listen, I remember what you told me.
Did you do your reading?
You said don't bring it up. So.
All right, but did you do your reading?
I read everything that I see and that I have time to read.
All right, good. I
read any story that is sent to me that I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I read Kyle Neubeck stuff. That's about it.
Okay. What's the last book you read?
Oh my God, that must have been
Everybody in the comments, let's tell us what
7 or 8 years ago, probably.
what's the last book you read.
I'm still in the first chapter of Tanking to the Top. I don't like reading. I'm not a reader.
Wow.
You just never appealed to me.
Okay. All right.
And I am that much less enlightened, obviously.
Marquise says Ben's got half the team's total points and half of what he's averaging this season with 8. That is a good start. And I think when you see that, again, that will create the type of gravity that creates shots for Danny Green. That will create shots for Seth Curry. And Seth's already got a couple of The Secret. I haven't read The Secret. That's like a self-help book about positive thinking, I think.
That would send me to sleep. I'd be done. Forget it.
Well, I do a lot of that's the best time to sleep is when you're ready to best time to read is when you're ready to slow your brain down, focus in on a topic, slow your body down, and go to sleep. I read every night before bed. Okay, so 1984, George Orwell. That's the last book you read? It's a fascinating book, and it took a little longer to get there, but we finally got there, Jamonte. We finally made it. It didn't happen in 1984 exactly, but we finally got there. We finally made it come true. If you like 1984 and you like that sort of dystopian nightmare type book, I'm going to give you a recommendation, another classic. Siddhartha, very interesting, Aram. So that's the last book you read, or that's your favorite book? Favorite book's fine also.
This went from the Sixers watch party to a book club.
You want to talk about every make and miss? We can do that. Go ahead.
Nah.
Walk us through the makes and misses. Feel free.
I'm good. I will let the book conversation go through.
Oh, you'll allow it. Jamonte, if you like 1984, try Brave New World. It's like
Brave New World is one that I read, or that I had to read, but didn't.
What'd you think of Brave New World? Aldous Huxley. I'll put it in the
Aldous Huxley. That's right. Wasn't there like some character named like Mustafa in it?
I don't know.
Mustafa Haran, something like that.
It's a book about ideas, very dangerous ideas. It's not.
It's a very dystopian book. I forget, like it was very like scientific and it was weird. But
it's essentially about science gone wrong. It's about eugenics. It's about it's a response to. It's about 50 years after Darwin published his theory of evolution. It's sort of a, you take the concepts of Darwinism and you add on what we were learning about science, and you take that to its logical extreme and you get some really dangerous stuff. So I certainly recommend it. Love to Mason Plumlee. That
wasn't close.
Okay. Joel is nice. Yeah. Joel Embiid is, I think he's going to be a good player one of these days. I think he's going to be good. What do you think?
I don't think it's biased anymore to say that he's the best center in the league.
I think it's just like, it's a weird conversation to have because they're so different that they are both technically centers, but they approach the game so differently between Joel and Jokic that it's like a weird apples and oranges conversation to me. Do you think they could play on the same team together?
Yeah. And I mean, I just think that, like, sure, maybe the better all-around player is Nikola Jokic, but I think the more dominant big man, which is really what you want out of your center position, is Joel Embiid by a country mile.
Well, who's got more wins in their career?
I would guess Joel.
Who's got more playoff wins in their career?
I would guess Nikola Jokic.
Okay. I'll look it up.
I would guess Nikola Jokic by a lot.
You think so?
Yeah, Nikola Jokic has been to the second round. He's been to the first round. He's been to the conference finals, and he's played multiple 7-game series.
All right, let's look at this. He's been to the playoffs twice. He has played 33 playoff games. Let me see how many of those are wins. I think we build these narratives, and I don't know that the numbers actually back them up. Did he go further in the playoffs last year than Joel Embiid? Yes. He's played 33 playoff games. I'll look up Joel Embiid real quick.
I think Embiid's played.
Let's hear in the comments. Why don't you hear in the comments for a minute? Jokic or Embiid? I know there's a bit of self-selection. We have mostly Sixers fans here, but tell us Embiid or Jokic and why. All right, Joel Embiid has played 23 playoff games, and Jokic has played 33 playoff games. Yeah, he's only been in the playoffs twice, but he's played long series.
He played a quadruple OT game.
Yeah, long series. Yeah, so he's had more success. It's good. To me, I think that Jokic is such a unique player, but I'm a big believer in the value of the dominant center position. I wish there were more centers in the league. I think the game is legislated post play out. I think you could drop either one of them in any era, and they're both successful players. But I know that you could drop Joel Embiid into any era in the history of the NBA, and he would be a dominant player. Any era. Jokic, to me, the closest thing I've seen to him was Sabonis, the elder Sabonis. Yeah.
Also, if you compare them like side by side, they look like way different people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's my talk on jeans.
Yeah, one guy's 7'3", and DeMontis is like 6'9", 6'10". They're definitely, and they just have different skill sets for sure. So, Aram says Jokic can play every position. Well, that means, Aram, you watch offense. You don't watch defense. That's all that means. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't apologize. We have to hold the fans accountable.
Jamonte, yeah. So all of his games seem to go to game sevens. Yeah. So, but that is definitely like just playoff games played is a big stat. Like it is a real stat. If you want to look at players and just truly how valuable they are, it's not a stat you throw away. It's just not.
Do you know who else has played a lot of playoff games? Robert Horry, Derek Fisher.
Great, but they were fantastic players. Like Robert Horry, I could make an argument that he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I think
Iguodala is probably a surefire Hall of Famer.
Do you know how many points per game do you think Robert Horry would score in today's NBA?
I would guess 17.
Yeah, I would guess he'd get a lot more shots from three. they didn't even design offense really for that back then. They're designing to get those shots now.
Yeah. So Tyrese Maxey has not come into the game yet, but Furkan Korkmaz has. I don't know about that one.
I think the role that they want is spacers, right? And Tyrese is a downhill guard. He's not a floor spacer, so they can only have so many downhill people. Right now they have, a couple of spots for slashers, a couple of spots for spacers, and then they have a post position spot. So I just think you have to look at the roles. And Furkan, his role is as a spacer. Curry, Green, those guys are spacers.
What do you think it's like playing in Detroit? I can't imagine it's fun. I mean, like a huge crime rate city. It's dark and like snowy all the time.
Okay, it's dark and snowy, but this crime rate thing is like, all right, like every city, that's not a factor.
Fair.
I think you're watching the wrong news channel. I think that Detroit has great fans, and they don't show up to games. That's the biggest issue. I think when you got 8,000 people at a brand new arena, I think you lose some of the energy and the direct feedback that people that feed off of crowd energy get.
You said they have great fans, but then you said
they have great fans that don't show up to games. They do have great fans. They really do. It's not like the Miami Heat fans, which are like complete front runners and star effers and just all about the glitz and the glamour. The Pistons fans love the Jeremy Grants of the world. They love the gritty, grindy, Dennis Rodman types, the Rick Mahorn types. They embrace that type of player. They're not just about it. There you go. You asked for my hot take on Heat fans. You got it.
Wow.
I think the Pistons fans really do appreciate the grit and grind players. So I do think they have great fans, but they're not able to get them. They moved that arena downtown, and I live in a city that empties out at 5 p.m., right? A bunch of people come in. You got lawyers, you got corporate America, you got a lot of finance and credit card people. And at 5 p.m., boom, they're gone to the suburbs. And Detroit has that same problem. Detroit had just everybody's out in the suburbs. So when they had an arena in the suburbs at Auburn Hills, they were drawing huge crowds. Keeping people in the city or getting people to go into the city is a problem. So I think they made a mistake on where they put their arena, but I do think they have great fans. Fair. And I think the Heat fans are star effers who show up in the second quarter.
They were lifetime fans since the Heat got LeBron.
Right. I mean, there's never been a luckier fan base than the Miami Heat in the history of sports. They were an expansion franchise, which was immediately good. And then just, we want to talk about turnovers? Sorry. We're in a watch party. You guys are seeing without dives here to live and die with every shot. We definitely talk less about the actual possessions on the floor. Why don't you do a recap for us, Austin?
I am trying to juggle the life of being on the beat as well as being on a live stream, and I'm hungry. So I'm working on this. What I am surprised by is the fact that Isaiah Stewart has not touched the court yet, which tells me they kind of knew that this matchup was going to be a problem.
Okay. Isaiah Stewart?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm fixated on Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, it's working for them, right? So why don't we do a a quick little screen share and look at shot charts.
My favorite.
I love shot charts. So we're gonna look at.
Whenever I'm on a date, I always do let's go out to dinner and then look at shot charts. My favorite thing.
Yeah, and if you look here at what shots the Sixers are shooting 54%. Clearly, they're turning the ball over. They've got 24 attempts. They're down 3. Pistons have 26 attempts. And the Pistons have a more diverse shot chart right now. But Sixers are settling for some mid-range shots, and they're turning the ball over a lot. So it's not the start you wanted if you want to get Joel Embiid and your other guys a lot of rest. Yeah, I think Curry's doing his job tonight for sure. Thunder. So let me do a quick run through the box score.
I was putting on some plaid.
Say what?
I was putting on some plaid pants.
Oh, okay. Wayne Ellington's having a good start. This is just I know that people wonder why the Sixers give up big nights to opposing guards. They always have. I think part of it is just their defensive approach. Is they're willing to live with those guys because they think they can bait them and drop coverage into bad shot selection and low efficiency nights. It's just one of the philosophical things they've had for years. Dwight Howard fouling. What do you think about his foul rate? It's pretty.
I think it's a problem. I also think that there are times when it's not a foul and he gets called for it because it's just who he is. I think he's treated unfairly sometimes, but I mean, it is what it is. He has to play through. I asked him about that a couple games ago, and he said you have to play through it, have to be smarter, and he says he will, and he has played better. He's been committing fewer fouls, but he needs to be able to stay on the court when Joel isn't there.
Yeah, and I think part of it is he's a strong guy, and when he makes contact, it's very obvious. You can hear it. You can see the reaction. Rebounds right now are tied as far as the box score. Sixers really need to dominate the glass, control the glass in order to beat teams. I think that's a big one. 6 turnovers here, not great. Something they can clean up. We have Joel Embiid's got 8 points on 8 attempts, so that you're not seeing that extreme efficiency of the last couple of nights where he was averaging over 2 points per shot. He's at exactly 1 point per shot, which is, not great efficiency. Let's look at on the other side, you've got Seth Curry, who is perfect from the floor, 6 points, 3 for 3 shooting. Ben Simmons is 3 for 4, so he's doing fine. But you go down and you look at in 3 minutes, Matisse Thybulle really has a goose egg, 1 turnover, -7, and really nothing else on the stat sheet. So rough outing for him. Furkan, pretty much same thing. He's got 2 rebounds, no shots, no points, no nothing, -7. Dwight Howard, 2 rebounds, 2 fouls, a turnover, not great. So not a great start for the bench. Tyrese Maxey, same thing, -7. So there's a stretch run there where Matisse Thybulle, Furkan Korkmaz, Dwight Howard, and Tyrese Maxey came out there, and basically the wheels fell off and nothing was working. So Shake Milton, pretty much same thing. You really only have 2 shot attempts total from your bench right now. So 2 shot attempts and 0 points from your bench. That will not actually get it done. That will actually not get it done. Thoughts, Austin?
Yeah, you're going to need more out of the bench. And I think the bench has been a really strong part for this team this season. I think, and especially in comparison to the previous seasons when you had to grind out 31 points from the bench on a given night. You had to hope that they could get to 31 points from the bench in any given game. And now you have a guy in Shake Milton who's giving you 17 by himself off the bench. So, I think the bench is better, but you need to have more consistency, and you need to be able to rely on your bench to not only keep you out of the water, but to at least build upon the lead.
Yeah, they Dwight has just caught a third foul while getting his jersey shorts completely ripped, and he got called for the foul. So,
that is a unique situation,
and it is on camera. It is absolutely on camera.
I would like to see this.
You're about to see this, and this is one of the more you talk about flagrant foul. He's got red shorts, and the guy basically has an NFL penalty flag in his hand as he falls to the floor, which is wild.
They literally, oh my God, they literally ripped the back of his pants shorts.
Yep. All right. Steven, they're not going to get blown out tonight. This has the feel to me of one of those games that
they'll only lose by 6.
No. This has one of those reel them in games feels to it. This team will they'll settle down. They'll stop turning the ball over. The shots that Detroit is hitting, those guys that aren't stars, they feel it, but it doesn't sustain throughout 48 minutes. Am I hostile?
Probably me.
What are you doing? It's hostile.
Existing. The usual.
All right. Aram says, would you trade Joel Embiid for Anthony Davis?
No.
And
would
why?
you?
No, I wouldn't.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't. Okay, here's a better question. Both of them are thrown into the draft. They're both 19 years old again. You have the number 1 pick. Which one are you picking?
Same injury history?
Nope.
So both clean bills of health.
Clean bills of health.
Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you're not?
Yeah, no, I am.
So my thinking is that I think number 1, Joel's a better shooter, but I also think that it's problematic that Anthony Davis was not leading his team to victory in New Orleans on any given night, and he didn't really get in the playoffs done until he was with LeBron. Whereas Embiid has been the heart and soul, and he's been a leader. Joel Embiid's been a leader for years of this team, and I think also he plays better to a fan base and to a city than Anthony Davis does.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have any critique of Anthony Davis. What I'll say is, while he is a fantastic player and probably will go to the Hall of Fame, there are just certain players that pop out as historically great, Godzilla level. When they figure it out, there's nothing anyone else can do. There's very few of those players. Joel Embiid is one of those players. And Anthony Davis is a great role man. He can pick and pop. He can do a lot of great stuff. But to me, he's more like the Karl Malone level player than just the world-beating Godzilla that Joel Embiid is. So I would take the chance, even if it never leads to championships, and I think it will be a real shame if it doesn't. It's just
I gotta be
is more historically.
I gotta be honest. I think what this process era has taught me, and as it should have taught everybody, is on paper, in theory, in a vacuum, it should work. You should be able to win a championship or multiple. It doesn't account for the fact that what are other teams going to be doing beside you? Like this Sixers team was in a really good spot 2 years ago before they traded for Butler, and all that stuff. They had a lot of cap space. They had 2 young stars, and but like the league is constantly changing. And so while it was obviously a smart move to put themselves in a position to acquire 2 franchise level players and get out of the mud where they had been stuck for however many years since they traded Iverson.
Great play by Maxey. And
the Max.
That's good for him because we've seen he was such a confident player right off the bat, so comfortable and confident. I haven't seen that comfort and confidence in the last couple of games. So creating that turnover right there and getting to run the floor for fast break dunk is awesome. He's going to be very much a confidence player, Maxey. And I know that when he was really
why my game keeps delaying.
When he was really doing his thing early, I know I was a little bit of a wet blanket with him on a lot of these live streams. I was sort of lowering the expectations. I think he's not nearly as bad as he has been the last couple of games. But I also don't know that he strikes me as an all-star, future all-star in the league.
I think he tops out at like Jamal Murray level.
I think if he can get to Jamal Murray in 3 years, it's fantastic. Jamal Murray is 3 inches taller than him, though. Now I think he's a lot quicker than Jamal Murray. But I just,
I'm pretty sure. Wait, Jamal. So I think Tyrese Maxey is 6'3", right?
He's 6'1.5" without shoes.
Fair enough. Okay, because I was thinking that, like, in a perfect world, he can become Bradley Beal, but I think that's
Beal is a little bigger than him.
Yeah, Bradley Beal is 6'3".
I've seen them both in person together. This year, twice. I think I've seen Brad Beal in Philly twice so far.
Jason,
I think he's quicker than.
Jason, what's your Wi-Fi? I'm gonna try to log in your Wi-Fi.
Sure. Okay. No problem.
Does it connect this far? Do you have one of those extenders?
Of course I do.
There you go.
What do you think? I'm going to come on a live stream and not have a 1,300 mile extender?
I needed one of those industrial level extenders.
Sure. Yep.
We should have like a TPL VPN where we can just log into the network and that's it.
Sure. VPNs are so 2005, but all right.
VPN network.
Julian says, how can we take this team seriously if they keep struggling on the road? It's every road game. The Pistons are terrible. I think this is fair criticism, and understanding why those struggles exist is the $1 million question with this team. And I wonder if part of it is that they just don't spend enough time together off the floor to build just that deep chemistry and trust when they're on the road. And when they're at home, they have routine. The other team has a slight disadvantage. And in most situations, they have a rabid fan base that will cajole them to getting their shit together. And they don't have that in a place like Detroit. But I think it's really a fair critique of this team, not bringing energy consistently when it's just them around. and they don't have the pressure and the energy of a home crowd.
I mean, I feel like they're in first place right now, and they're in first place by a handful of games. Like, let's be a little optimistic on the team. I think
but this is Julian.
No, and I agree with that. I think it's a valid. I think it's a valid criticism. I think number one, they've played 6 games on the road. 1 or 2 have been without their best player, and 2 of those losses are against teams that, as it turns out, aren't as terrible as we all thought they were going to be.
But you're not seeing the energy. You can see the difference in energy. Now, again,
I will say this:
I think they were down by 8 last night. They were down by 8. They reeled undermanned Celtics team back in overtime. Don't be surprised if that happens again here. I do think that these guys have a little more down deep that they dig in and attack. They have more pride, let's say. I hate that shot. So the duck in one dribble into a 21 footer is like the worst shot in basketball. That's what opposing coaches want your team to take. That shot by Curry is basically the worst shot in basketball.
I do love that suddenly I have a blackout restriction on my Comcast Sportsnet. Just the guy I always hoped. I mean, ultimately, I think they'll probably win this game. But I think you see with a lot of teams. A lot of teams play down to play down in the first half of games, and they put clamps on the second half.
Well, yeah, and I think what you have when you have so many other players that are out, and you got a lot of guys that aren't in your scouting report, they're not locking in on exactly what they need to take away from the Pistons, and you got to work through some of that. What are the Pistons trying to do? Who are they trying to feed and work and sort of close off those options? And a team with a bunch of nobodies, somebody said it, like a bunch of nobodies, can surprise you, just like rookies can come in and surprise teams, right?
I also think think about the fact that a lot of these rookies on the Pistons are vying for their next contract as we speak. Like this is an open tryout for a number of them, and so they're playing. They're giving everything they got. They're trying to secure their bread for the next 3 or 4 years. If not with Detroit, then with somebody else. So every play matters to them significantly more than individual plays matter to the Sixers.
Yeah. Jamonte, so you're asking why is that the worst shot in basketball? Because statistically, the league shoots 45% from there, and you're not getting fouled at that spot. You are not drawing a foul. You top out at two points at most, and if the league shoots it at 45%, that makes it 0.9 points expected value for points per shot. So 0.9 points per shot expected value is statistically the worst shot in basketball. A shot at the rim is about 1.2, 1.3 expected value. Threes at 36%. I should do the math, but threes are 1.2, 1.3 points per shot expected value. Threes and shots at the rim both carry a higher percentage chance of getting fouled, so getting a free throw on top of it, an N1. It's just statistically, all of the numbers are in. This is 20 years of analytics now. That's the worst shot. It's just objectively true. Now there are people in the league. There are people in the league that can hit that in that space at the 55%.
Kawhi Leonard, that's a great shot.
You let Kawhi take any one of those shots that he wants, because he can do that. Jimmy Butler is very good at it. You'll allow him to do it. He's also good at finding a way to get fouled anyway in those spaces. So he's very good at it. You'll live with it. Joel Embiid is a guy that can hit at a very, very high clip on face-ups in mid-range. I think he just did one. So you'll live with it from those guys. But the next tier down, and as good as Curry is, it's just not a shot you want any of your non-stars to be taking. It's the shot that the opposing coach wants you to take. It's just how these defenses are designed in 2020. They are designed to create soft zones in that space. And those soft zones exist because that's the shot that they know has the lowest expected value. CJ is a high volume guy, and he's
I'm bearing some good news. The regional sports network lock has now been lifted for whatever reason. So
that's big news for everyone. That's big news for everyone on the stream, not just you at all. So let me look up CJ McCollum and let's because I think you bring up a good point. He may be one of those players, right? So CJ McCollum, he's at a 62% true shooting percentage right now for this year.
Which is elite.
It's elite, but he's a 55% guy for his career. But he can do that's above average, but he can do it at really high volume. He's a guy that you love. And I'm going to look at so 16 feet to 3-point. He shot last year 50.3%. So that carries an expected value of around 1.06 or 1.1. Let's say he gets fouled once in a while. This year he's hitting those shots though at 62% in that 16 to 24 foot range. That's great. But if you go back through his career, 2018, 2019, 49%, still pretty good, but under 1 point per shot expected value. And then it drops off 43%, 45%, 44%, 36%, 33%. So, CJ is a good case this year, but over his career, he's a 45.6% shooter in that mid range. And that just is less than 1 point per shot expected value. That puts you it just puts you in the space where you're not gonna win enough. But CJ is like a good swing case. Is he good enough to take those? If it gets him in rhythm, he can take those. He's gotten better every year of his career, pretty much. At them, he might be entering the conversation to take those. But when you start to see young players settling for those, I'm going to say that, settling for those shots, that's a little bit of an alarm bell. All right, so I think you're starting to see the Sixers. I'll look at it. Starting to control the glass a little bit more. They're getting settled. They're starting to see what the Pistons are trying to do offensively. They're starting to close off some of the options.
I think someone on the coaching staff Twitter ran out and said, "You guys better get it together."
Well, I mean, look, a coach can say that, but it's really about them seeing enough of. The coach really should be saying, "Okay, here's what they're doing. Here's how they're creating their shots. Here's how they're breaking you down. This is who they're looking for. Take these things away." And when they get on that little dry erase thing, it's Dan Burke a lot of times in those huddles. He's the one running the huddle because he's showing them what the other team is trying to do, and he's directing their defense on what to start taking away. And that's when the reel it in thing happens. Since we started talking about turnovers, Sixers have not turned the ball over, and they now are 20 rebounds. Now the Pistons are at 25 rebounds, so the Sixers are not controlling the glass.
I would venture to say that Ben Simmons has had a very good game so far.
Ben Simmons is 12 points.
13 points. 13 points, 5 of 5 from the free throw line.
Yep, that's good.
I think they're starting to seize control just ever so slightly. So, Jason, if you had to put your money on who wins this game, what would you say?
I think the Sixers will pull it out. I think the windows of time where the Pistons could have made the Sixers pack it up and shut it down. One of those two windows just passed. The next window will be in the third quarter. If they jump out and they really can turn the Sixers over a bunch to the point where, you know, the body language goes down. I think that'll be the next window of time. My guess is they'll probably play to a tie. If I had to guess right now, they'll probably be, fairly close. Pistons will walk into the halftime with a small lead, probably. And their last chance to win it will probably be in that early third quarter, first half of the third quarter.
I think quietly, people don't want to say Ben's improved on offense. I think his free throw shooting has gotten a lot better. For years, you would see him just be nowhere near the basket, no touch in the first month or so of the season, and then he slowly figures it out. Has a little bit of a lull in the middle of the season. By the playoffs, he's hitting around 70% the last season.
What I would look at when Ben's at the line, here's where I would look at his knees. Is he getting bend and rhythm in his knees, or is he stiff, trying to eliminate all of the moving parts and just flick it with a repeatable motion? And early in his career, that's what he was trying to do, is just create a putting stroke where there was nothing going on except for that little flick. And that wasn't working for him. He needs to generate rhythm with his lower body, bring it up in rhythm, in repeatable timing. I wrote a story going back probably 3 years now that I am a firm believer. You can see the drum kit. I'm a firm believer that Ben Simmons needs to learn to play music, because I think one of the things he lacks is an internal metronome where things are in time and in rhythm. And for elite Jahlil Okafor checking into the game, shout out Brian Jacobs, who still rocks a Jahlil Okafor jersey with cut off sleeves at the gym.
I really hope that Ja figures it out, because, I think he, in some sense, has kind of figured things out a little bit. I just don't think his body's ever going to permit him to really be a contributing NBA player. Brick feet, not that agile, can't really move.
I think he's he's such a slow twitch athlete. He's just
but he's still so young too. He's
he's a loper. He is a loper, and he's never going to have the reaction time to be a good defender. He's a moper and a loper. Let's put it that way. He's very easy to get in his own head and get his head drooping and feeling bad about himself. And he's, instead of being locked into what you're doing and being half a step mentally ahead of you so that he can overcome some of his slowness, he's in his head. So he's a half a step behind before he recognizes what other teams are doing. It's just a recipe for just a bad defender, which makes it hard for him to be on the floor a lot. And you look at him, he's got himself in shape. But he's never going to have that just fast twitch explosiveness that he would have to overcome some of the recognition slowness that he has. He doesn't anticipate well. Everything is deliberate, and he's slow twitch. It's a bad combo. I thought it was a bad combo in college. I think Duke puts out a lot of these guys that just don't have explosiveness. They're deliberate. They look good at the college speed, and they don't translate well. I think there's a lot of those guys.
Did Joel just miss another free throw?
He just made the one I saw. I'm living in the future, Austin.
Makes sense. If you recall, I said that I think that Embiid would live at the line again tonight because of their bigs, and I would like to say that Embiid has 12 first half free throws.
Yeah. and he probably could have drawn another one.
Don't want to say I was right, but I wasn't wrong.
You know, who actually doesn't want to say they're right?
No one. It's very fun.
I haven't met that person that doesn't.
It's very fun to be right, like 99.7% of the time. I wouldn't know what that's like, but I would imagine it's fun.
You're the home run hitter, low average, high.
I am what you call the Scott Boras client, just the big star. You know me.
The big star.
I would say this.
But you have 52 home runs.
I am the wordsmith superstar. I don't actually, as long as it's on paper, I think I am in a good position.
Can we talk about how hypocritical it is for a guy who doesn't read books to expect others to read tomes, 3,500 words?
It's great. It is very on point.
You couldn't get through the first chapter of a book literally about the team you cover, and you want people to read 3,500 word tomes.
What's funny, I actually read the first chapter during work one day because it was slow and calls were coming in. So I was like, okay, I'll read this. And I got what?
Why don't you do like audiobooks or something?
I should do that.
What do you do when you're like, okay, you're not obsessing about the Sixers?
I think about basketball. I would probably say 18 hours a day.
First of all, you need to sleep more. Second of all,
what
could you possibly be thinking about basketball is not that complicated to be thinking about it for 18 hours a day.
I'll go down a rabbit hole of X's and O's. Like it's like some nights, like I'll go on YouTube and I'll just like look up different like X and O schemes and like look at different playbooks, and then I'll like connect it with like what I'm, because like keep in mind I for Last Out I'm a general NBA writer, so like I don't cover any team in particular, but I cover teams in bunches. So I mean I'll watch a game every night, and then there'll be plays that I'll recognize and from YouTube, and I'll look them back up to sort of like compare notes. And then
let's go at the half. It is 63-61, I believe. Pistons are leading. Bad last turnover on Tobias there. Why was Tobias ISO up top for the last shot? That's an interesting question. Don't love it. Pistons made a nice turnover, got the basket right as time expired. Okay, so really you're just watching a bunch of NBA games? Like that's what you're doing with your life?
When you say it like that, it sounds not great. Let me see here.
I think okay, so let's talk about it. Like I think that there's some value in watching a lot of basketball games. I do think there's some value in it. I think there's limited value in watching basketball games, like too many of them on TV. I would rather see you go to the park and play a bunch of 3-on-3 than watch a random Utah Jazz versus the Memphis Grizzlies game.
I actually watched that the other night. It was a really good game.
They didn't play each other the other night, did they?
They did not. I don't even know.
There's no way that was a good game.
Let's see. I've watched so far this season the Hawks 3 times, the Warriors 4 times, the Nets 3 times, the Sixers 18 times probably.
But see, to me, like there's value in watching, and then there's value in applying it on the court and seeing it, like the floaters thing. Before I talk about floaters, we have a whole conversation. I am not 100% sure that the stuff I'm talking about is right. Twice this week, I changed my routine at the park to work on floaters first instead of doing the Dennis Scott drill first.
I'll say what I'm doing. I have been doing this. That's been a big activity for me.
No. Go to the park. You're in Florida.
In a pandemic,
go play 3-on-3 at the park.
I don't want to have to follow the health and safety protocols. See, the problem is that there aren't many basketball courts near me because it's Naples and people there are in their 60s and 70s. There's not really a need for the local government to spend tax dollars on opening a basketball court.
Okay, that's fair.
Also, Marky, do I play basketball? I played in high school. My teammates were Cam Reddish, Lamar Stevens, who played for Penn State, now in the Cavs, and then Shiz Austin, who played for the Sixers G League and is now in Greece. So I did play. I was the water boy. No, I'm kidding. I sat politely at the end of the bench and got my opportunities, but it was fun. I did play.
Yeah, but I do think organized basketball and playing against whoever is at the court, playing with a bunch of different people and with a bunch of different styles and skills is valuable because there's all kinds of little things. I think I just get outside, man. Get outside. Read a book and get outside. That's my message for tonight to everyone.
Was absolutely the chubby white forward. Well, no, more the chubby white guard. But I will tell you this. I was definitely the one you wanted to account for in transition because I was pulling it from anywhere. And I was cash money most of the time.
Good. That's good.
Like 72%.
No. See, you were right there. You're so close. And then you added those extra 2 words, and the whole thing unraveled on you. You were so close.
I was a gunner. I used to shoot.
So how often do you play now?
I probably haven't played in like a year.
Last time you played was with Kai 1-on-1?
Oh, yeah. No, that was right the summer. Yeah. Kyle, tell you, I was shooting it.
He did. We talk about it. I said, you're a shot doctor. You evaluate people's forms. What's your form like? He said, you have a goofy form.
I have a very goofy form. It's very weird, but the thing is cash money. Like, and it isn't like weird in that like this is like all over the place. But like my release point is low. The rotation isn't great. My elbow's out, but it goes in. So,
yeah. Did I ball back in the day? No, I played soccer and baseball in high school, but basketball is just one of those pickup sports that is so accessible that I played all of the time in non-structured ways. We did have, and some of my old friends might be on here one of these days, a county league 3-on-3. We played in a county league. I love playing indoors. It's such a luxury for a kid who was used to playing on courts that didn't have nets most of the time, or they had chain nets, or they had double rims. So I definitely didn't play basketball. Our high school had a McDonald's All-American on it. All 5 of our starters went to Division I. Gene Thompson was the head coach of Wilmington High School. His brother, John Thompson, was the Georgetown head coach. We had like legit players. It sounds like Austin did as well, but our starting 5 all went to D1. Yeah, definitely not. So, yeah, this happens for sure. I don't know if we still have Bryant Baker on. Bryant is our TPL CEO. He played in college. He played in college, and Bryant Baker can shoot it from anywhere. He and I have shot around, and we played 2-on-2. He can basically knock it down from anywhere. So
I feel
one of
like
these
Bryant
things,
probably has really big legs and a nice jab step.
no, he can he plays slow, he plays under control. I will say, I don't know if we talked about this on a live stream, but Bryant, Baker, and we did before last season, we did the G League tryouts. He did the one at Temple University. I did the one at the 76ers Fieldhouse. TPL was well represented. We both won games. We both made key plays to win games. We were 2-1 in our games in those tryouts. So we represented the brand very well. Neither of us oddly got an offer by the Blue Coats, which is very upsetting. But well,
how close
we're both on the floor in overtime. What's that?
How close would you estimate you were to making it?
On a 1 to 100, I was like 2.
And Bryant?
No, but I made look, I made a winning play that won the game. I didn't destroy our team. Bryant's too old. They're not signing anybody that's over like 22. It's just not going to happen. Connor Johnson and I, the coach of the Blue Coats, we talk all the time. I'm at the games all the time, and we were talking that day, and I'm like, "So you seeing anybody?" Because we had 3 courts going, so 3 games, full court at one time. And we're talking, and I'm gassed out, right, from running full court. I'm like, so you seeing anybody? And we had a guy on our team who was like doing lob dunks, and he probably had 3 dunks in the game. And he's like, no, nobody here. If you don't completely dominate in an open tryout with 100 people, you have no chance at the next level. It's like, you know how these things go. It's 1 out of 1,000 can translate to the next level. So 1 out of 1,000 high school players can play at the D1 level. 1 out of 1,000 D1 guys can really play at the professional level, and then it just gets progressively smaller from there. So neither one of us were getting an offer. We knew that heading in, but the 5th quarter guys had some people there. I think TPL could field a Philly media squad that would do very well against any other media outlet. I'd be willing to say that we do just fine. Especially since now I knew you hit 72% on transition threes. Like, come on.
Might have embellished that number like a standard deviation of like 1.
Okay.
So like give or take like 26% to like.
Hey, you should fit if you're.
I was either at 98% or I was at 42%. Or no, I was either at 98% or 46%. So I'll let you be the judge.
We'll leave that for next week when we talk next.
Someone
will go back.
I'm actually going to go back through my old box scores and count them up.
Go back through your box scores. That's what you should do instead of watching Utah versus Memphis on a Tuesday. The clever one says, do you think we need a backup stretch power forward for depth? We talked about this earlier. Yes, we do think that. And Bielitsa looks like he's available, looks like he's cheap. He's probably the obvious fit there. Artie Silva, what's up with the drum kit in the back? That is the drum kit that got packed away to create this office during the pandemic. I had to make a second office in the house. Am I good? I can keep time. I am a good bandmate. I played in a punk rock band for 10 years. In fact, I got a photo from a friend that I posted on my Instagram. Last night, someone texted me, an old bandmate with Bernie Sanders photoshopped into my spot, replacing me on stage at a show we played. So am I good? I think I'm a good bandmate. I'm not going to wow anyone with individual skills. I keep time. I see what our guitar player is doing. I keep us in the pocket. I serve the band well. That's what a drummer should do, serve the band. I'm not out there to show off. But some of you may know I played with the Paul Green Rock Academy program. So I'm competent. I'm a competent drummer. How about you, Austin? You got any musical skills?
I sing in the shower quite often, and
What's your go-to song in the shower?
You wouldn't even know it. Don't even try it.
Probably not.
I guess.
Which Disney movie is it from?
No, it's not a Disney movie.
Which Broadway
Smooth
show?
Operator by Sade.
Oh, why would I not know that? And first of all, it's not Sade.
What, Sade?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm from Philly.
What else do you know from her? She's got great stuff, man. She's a queen. You got to go into the Sade, man.
Sweetest Taboo.
Yep.
Sweetest Taboo is actually one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it's a great song.
But my voice can't get into tone with hers, so it doesn't sound right when I do it.
I would not have guessed Sade, but I'm very pleased to hear it.
What else? Hang On to Your Love.
Who sings that?
Sade.
Oh, okay.
I thought you would know. See, I knew you wouldn't know it.
Well, I know Smooth Operator. How deep into the catalog do you want me to go? It's a very generic title.
Also, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Another one. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep. Okay.
Crocodile Rock.
Okay. All right.
It goes back. I have a playlist that goes back in time. Recently, I did to Beastie Boys.
Do you have anything from this millennium?
Justin Bieber.
Okay. Okay. All right. Will McCullough says, let's talk a little bit basketball again. No one, yeah, here, look. No one would have guessed Sade, for sure. That would have been like, you could have given me 157 guesses. I would not have gone to Sade. How are we stopping the Pistons offense? First thing you do to stop this offense is stop turning the ball over. And turnovers are what are creating the disjointed defense, which is creating the easy opportunities for the Pistons. The discipline and being able to settle into your defense is really all I think the Sixers need for this second half.
Do you ever notice that none of Embiid, Simmons, Harris have tattoos?
Let me think about Harris. That is probably true. I haven't noticed that. Never really thought about it.
Think about how prominent tattoos are in the league, and then you have three starters, two of which are all stars that don't have any tattoos. Butler didn't have any either.
Well, maybe they want to be able to be buried in a cemetery.
Is that a rule?
Probably not for them.
For Jewish people, it used to be a rule, and not anymore.
So that's not even a rule anymore?
No. And my cousin and I would be in big trouble if it were a rule.
What's even the point? No, I don't know why they don't have tattoos. It never occurred to
me. It doesn't really matter. They don't like them. They don't like them. But I just thought it was interesting because you see them literally everywhere now.
All right, let's get into some basketball stuff. So why isn't Ben on Jeremy? One of the things they do with Ben Simmons.
Romer.
What a great block. One of the things they do with Ben is they really move him around like the queen of the chessboard. And sometimes they will live with a guy getting hot that they don't think can actually beat them, and then put Ben on him right in the guts of the game to basically close off that one option that was carrying them. So that's certainly a thing they do. You just saw Seth basically put right on his hip, wait for that contact, and then take a mid-range. Those are the mid-ranges you can live with. That's where you're forcing a team to play disciplined defense. And if you can beat a guy off the dribble, that's a shot you can get. Now you're not going to make many of those shots, but those are, if you can get somebody to bite and foul you, those are easy ways to get free throws.
Tobias Harris has a tattoo on his back shoulder.
So, okay. Jeremy has proven he's the guy. Yeah, he's proven he is their guy, but they're 3-12. So that goes to the point of like opposing teams obviously think they can beat the Pistons if they let Jeremy Grant try to carry the team. They don't think he's good enough to carry a team to wins. He can carry them to a lot of points. I'm looking at Joel, his face, to see if there's pain. But again, if you don't see Ben on Grant early in the game, it might just be one of those things where they're waiting and they'll keep it in reserve, and then like the other night where you basically just shut off the valve in crunch time, and that's how you just put teams away. And there's not a lot of defensive players that you can use in that way. There aren't a lot of those guys, but Ben Simmons is versatile enough defensively. You can use him in that way. And when we get caught into the religious war about Ben Simmons, we don't often get to that level of why he's so good defensively.
I think one thing that we have to say about, because I think Jeremy Grant is a really, really good player, definitely a better player than anyone could have projected him to be, or else he would have been a first-round pick for sure. But I think like one thing we have to say about him is like, forget the scoring. The scoring is great, but look how he's establishing himself deep in the post and then turning and ripping passes to the weak side corner. He's becoming a playmaker and a good passer too, with like good court vision. And this isn't like he's like, it's something that has sort of evolved kind of.
So there you go. They put Ben on him and he locks him up. But I just think they use Ben in so many different roles defensively. The only one that I don't think they use him or should use him is really as a rim protector, because that's not his skill set. But I like when they use Simmons for parts of the game as a free safety, where he sits back, mostly patrols the baseline or the wing, and he's watching the offense and he's being opportunistic. And then that allows him to see a lot of things, and then he closes off the valves late. It's a bad entry pass for Curry, but a good steal there from the Pistons on Embiid. Danny Green.
It looks like this is that early third quarter push you're talking about.
Yeah, this is the period of time where the Pistons, this is their opportunity to put the game away. But Danny Green hitting that corner three is huge. Good defense by Tobias Harris there. He really has progressed quite a bit as a defender since he's gotten to this team.
And I think with Harris, it's important because he's never going to be a stopper of the most elite offensive player, but there are guys that you don't have to worry about him constantly being the liability on any given night. Like he can credibly defend, your opponent's third or fourth option, and that's really what you want out of him defensively at this point in his career. Like if he can give you that 20, 21, 22 points per game that he's given you, and then serviceably defend, the third or fourth best player on the other team, that's great.
Yep, and he's a great teammate. He's a great professional and a model professional for younger players. It's a lot of good stuff. Steven, it is, but it's also like
this is also the NBA.
Detroit.
This is also the end. Like as fans of the league, I know it's easy to say like, oh, it's just this team, it's just that team. There has to be a fundamental understanding that these are NBA players. Maybe as a unit together, they're not that good, but they're still NBA caliber players. There's a lot of them are still fighting for minutes every single time they go out. A lot of them are playing for their next contract as we speak. They have a lot more to play for than Joel Embiid or anyone on the Sixers does on any given night. So they're battling and they're hanging tough. Their record isn't good, obviously, but their numbers say that they're a better team than they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I got to say on that topic.
Okay, next topic. I think it's fair that you should expect a team to create separation. You should do that. But again, just when you got a lot of mid-tier, sort of marginal players, the focus in the game plan and the scouting and the really knowing how to attack them isn't there often early. And you're adjusting to what these guys do mid-game, and that's where you see some of these nights. Again, that's why I think everybody should play a lot of pickup basketball, because you see so many different play styles, so many different approaches to the game. You're gonna see, like, if I play outdoors, I'm gonna see a completely different style of play. Versus go to a YMCA where there's a bunch of like guys that look like Austin taking threes. Like, it's totally different style of play.
I'll have you know, I often just sat at the YMCA and bullshit on the sidelines with the people there.
Play the games. I think there's value in it, but you just have these nights where if you were to play, I don't know, did you have a circle of friends where you would play a lot of basketball with them?
Oh, yes, and I was always the worst because I was the least athletic, but I would always be the one to hit the inexplicably tough shot that made them all go crazy because I couldn't believe I made it. I was the Nick Young.
Did you find it was harder to play with people that knew your game really well, or was it easier for you to play?
Like I played in like pickup leagues or like I played in like rec leagues and like in King of Prussia, and like I would sometimes go with like the randomized team where it was just like a bunch of like misfits who didn't really have like a group they were with. Yeah. The chemistry is awful. You're often out of position and everything. No one makes extra passes, and it's just a low energy environment. You're usually down by 25 points, like in the first 10 minutes of the game, because you just don't click. It's much easier to play with people you know.
So I think that's not always the case. I think people you know will start to learn your habits. If you're a shooter, I think you're right. If you're just like a catch and shoot guy, then all you need is a little bit of space. Yeah, all you need is a little bit of space. It's not like somebody knows all of your moves and starts taking away, where they learn your release point at the rim and they just start blocking your shot. That's what would happen to me. If you didn't play with me before, you were in for a rough go. But the bigger guys that understood my release point, I would struggle. I had to learn how to shoot. I had to learn how to become a much better shooter because of it. That's why I think there's a lot of value, but also there's playing against people you don't know, especially with this kind of team where there's some athletic players that you just don't know all their nuances yet. You can't shut it off. It's not a division opponent. You haven't played 15, 20 games against them. Just one of those nights. And they're hanging with them, but again, Detroit needs to be up by about 14 points right now to really feel any sort of comfort about how this game will turn out.
Cam Labarge is a good follower of mine. Cam, if you go to the NBC Sports app and log in with your cable provider, you should be able to get the Sixers game live streamed. If you
Embiid is on the floor, staying on the floor. Looks like he was just selling it a little bit and maybe getting a little bit of extra rest.
I'll say this. I think we kind of under talk about the fact that like look at how far medical science has come with like ACL surgery. Like, remember how devastating it was when Derrick Rose tore his ACL in the playoff game against the Sixers, game 1, and it was like his career was basically shot from there. Like, he was nowhere near the same player ever again. And now, like, you take like a whole season off. You do, there's rehab now, and guys can, depending on the body type, can really return to almost normal.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I wish they would make advancements like that and some other things that affect more people in the world. But
like COVID.
well, they're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well with that.
They are
pumping out a vaccine if they can just manufacture it faster. But creating a vaccine in 9 months is pretty good.
My mom and dad.
The idea that you can go from something new to a solution for it in that sort of time period is pretty amazing. That wouldn't have been the case, 30 years ago. Yeah, they probably went 15 years with HIV. 15 years. Imagine if COVID had the mortality rate of that, and took 15 years.
We might still have what is his name? What is his name? The great
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. Yes. Oh, I love. Listen, I don't care what anybody.
He's the best front man of all time. Period.
Bohemian Rhapsody was a way better movie than Rocket Man.
I agree. I wish I could have a longer conversation with you about it, but I just agree. I think it's a better movie. A lot of people didn't like Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm not sure why they didn't like it.
Rami Malek. What a great actor. What a great actor.
So are you a Mr. Robot guy?
What? Who?
Mr. Robot is Rami Malek's TV show.
No, obviously not. No.
Okay. Yeah, Freddie Mercury, best front man of all time. I don't think Queen is necessarily like even a top 5 band of all time, but Freddie's number 1 for sure.
There are a couple rock songs that I mess with heavy, like
let's hear your top 5 rock songs.
So keep in mind, these are just going to be the songs that I know that I really like. What is that song called?
Diabler is going to be so upset with us that we barely talk Sixers live stream.
What is the song called?
Greg is a much better musician than I am, by the way.
Let me look the song up. It's something like for whatever reason, Painted Black. Painted Black.
By the Rolling Stones.
Oh, what a great song.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Great song.
All
right, so Chris Dunn says Robert Plant and Bruce Springsteen. They're in the conversation. Robert Plant is certainly in the conversation. Bruce Springsteen has a shtick. I may take some flack for this, but I don't think Bruce Springsteen is an elite frontman. I think he created some really good songs. He created a sound, but a lot of that sound was sort of take some Bob Dylan, shave it off, throw in a little Bon Jovi, and slap a little Jersey funk on it. Add a lot more musicians around him. It's like Bob Dylan if he wanted to be played on the radio. So I'm obviously not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I like his songs. He doesn't move me.
Fair enough. I don't even know any Bruce Springsteen. So
that's impossible. It's impossible.
Let's see what other songs I like.
You of course you know Bruce Springsteen. Let's Chris Dunn says Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. I don't view Hendrix as a front man.
I love Van Morrison.
A force of nature. Jimi Hendrix was everything, right? He did have a good drummer. I will say Jimmy's drummer, his name escapes me, was good, but Jimmy was the whole thing. So like he's basically a solo artist. And Jim Morrison, again, he was a vibe. I wouldn't say I've performed Roadhouse Blues dozens of times by the Doors. I know the song really well. It's a mood. It's a vibe. I don't think he's in top tier.
Wouldn't it be nice?
You just see Ben Simmons on a recovery there. You're going to see it in a second. Ben Simmons with not a chase down block, but basically a chase down steal of a lob, which is pretty awesome. Converts into a fast break opportunity at the rim for Joel Embiid. That's the Sixers at their best, what you just saw there. This is we talked in the first half about the window of time where Detroit had to put the Sixers away, and that window just closed, right? So I'm not going to say it's going to be comfortable. Detroit will make another run. It's an NBA game. All of these games sort of are winnable by both teams with 4 minutes to go usually, but their best opportunity to win this game just basically closed.
And down goes the free ball from Joel.
Yep. So, yep.
It's time to bust out a little turnaround, right? A little turnaround, Jimmy. Oh.
All right. Greg says James Brown for the win. James Brown is definitely in that conversation. James Brown, I'm not sure for sure. I think you could have put James Brown and asked him to basically sing any different type of song, and he could have absolutely killed it for 3 hours on stage singing not just his own stuff, but he had one of the best bands of all time. That he was truly the band leader in the old school way of being a band leader. He used to fine his bandmates like $50 for missing a beat or for his horn section playing the wrong note. He would slap, just call it out. That's $50. That's $100. He would just find them on stage. He was such a tough leader, but a true leader of the James Brown band. And the guy was just a force of nature, absolute force of nature. So huge.
The more I watch Ben tonight, the more I kind of laugh at the Rockets for saying, "Nah, we'll take like 7 picks and like 1/2 season of Victor Oladipo."
Yeah, I mean, well, there's two. I think that I agree that they probably
they messed up. It was stupid.
Messed up. They could have had a centerpiece to build around that would have sold a ton of jerseys, gotten a lot of people excited, and I think they've got a dozen years of analytics baked into their brains, and you don't just undo that just because Daryl Morey left your organization. So Marquise, blow the game away. I don't know that it's going to be a blowout. Again, these are road games. Detroit is getting up in their shorts, daring the refs to call fouls. It's gonna create turnovers. It's gonna create ugly play. It's gonna create disjointed play. They're doing what they have to do to stay in it. But I wouldn't be I wouldn't be upset that they're not up by 20 right now.
If you notice
How
how
many costume changes we getting out of you tonight?
many, I get hot very fast and then I get cold very fast. So,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I also got toothpaste on my other sweatshirt. So I was very inclined to change that. Also, I do have a take, and it's that any sweatshirt with zippers is a farce.
You have a zipper on your top right there.
Now, this is less than a quarter zip. This is like a 1/8 zip.
It seems like such an arbitrary take that it's okay with 1/8, but not a quarter or a half zip.
Even a half zip is fine. A full zip, get out of here.
For a guy who gets hot and cold so fast, you'd think you'd want something that's zipped up and you could open and then close.
I would rather
perfect.
Rather just get my head all frizzy and ripped up and take it off over my head than zipper it up. The zipper always pops up, and it always looks like you're packing something underneath your sweatshirt.
I'm going to set a reminder with Siri to ask you this same question again when you're like 30 and see if you still have this take. Jamonte says there's more to that with the Rockets had beef with Daryl Morey. I think there's some of that. I think some of that's overblown. At the end of the day, and I've said this before, billionaire owners don't become billionaires by being overly emotional, making emotion-based decisions. I think that was probably less of a factor. They probably used some of that as leverage, but I don't think it was a huge. Woo! I don't want to react to makes and misses, but it looks like Markey saw it as well. That was a big shot right there from Furk, but it comes down. Was that Svi Mihalik? Kai Carlin is at this game. Actually, he traveled for this road trip. Kai Carlin and I would sit and joke in the media section during games that Svi Mihalik was the GOAT, and that's his guy. So shout out to Kai Carlin. And he's making Kai look real good right now. Somebody should tweet at Kai, tell him that Svi Mihalik is the GOAT, and he's right all along. I used to tell him Shake was a player, and he would laugh, and then he would tell me Svi Mihalik was the GOAT, and I would laugh.
I think Mikhailuk was in college like way before he was supposed to be. Like he was, I think, like 17 as a freshman.
Okay. He probably read more books than you. You could have been there early too.
I would venture that like 8-year-olds have probably read more books than I have.
What do you think the last book Svi Mihalik read was?
50 Shades of Grey.
No, stop. Jimmy Butler. If you ever ask Jimmy what book he's reading, because he'll tell you how much of a reader he is, it's always the same answer. Been reading the same book for 3 years while he's telling you how much of a reader he is.
You should call him out for it.
Oh, I have called him out for it. I'm not going to keep calling him out, but I do find it funny. All right, Greg, offensive issues, so magnified. Yeah, he's got to hit the corner three. That's his role. He can't really dribble in any meaningful way. He's not a great passer. He's got to hit the open three from the corner, which opens up the backdoor cut, which will get him dunk opportunities. And really, that's got to be his offensive role. So I agree. He's got limited utility if he's not doing that. Marky, not a fan of Furk at point guard. These are the games. These are the times where you try to give a guy something that they rave about in practice. Every one of his teammates raves about how he plays in practice, how he played in preseason. Furkan. So you want to see if it's happening in practice. You want to see if it can happen on the NBA floor, and they're going to keep trying it. And there's something seductive about Furkan Korkmaz for his coaches in the practice gym, and It's just a matter of will it ever translate consistently. But they do love him. So and they know better than we do. They know better than we do. I'm a bit worried that Shake and Maxey have gone missing lately. I think Shake didn't have a great couple of games this week. Tonight he's not having a great game. I'll look at what he's doing. As they're starting to move Ben Simmons off ball more as a power forward, I think it's important that Shake does step up. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Got a bagel in the points column. Got 3 fouls. He's got 3 assists and one turnover. And there you go. Somebody dialed up Shake in the comments. R. Da Silva, you dialed him up.
I would like to say that I think TPL owes, or I think TPL is owed a vast bit of revenue from this game from the Sixers, because we've tended to been pulling the right strings the entire time.
Well, we do this, right? This is our job. I mean, if there's we do these live streams every game, but with all due respect, everyone, you and I have to cover this team every day.
I've never heard of someone say Pistons on penalty. I've never heard that, but I love it, and I'm going to start using it.
There you go.
I sound more exotic when I say that instead of saying foul.
In the penalty. Oh, Okafor almost rimmed out an Okafor 3. So were you ever an Okafor believer? Was there ever a point where you thought?
Yes, I was convinced that he was going to be a star.
You just look like a guy that would believe in a Jahlil Okafor at the draft.
My rationale at 18 years old was they know more than I do, and therefore I trust that they will make the right pick. And turns out that they didn't know more than I know, because I would have taken Porzingis.
Yeah, Greg, thank you. I'm glad it's fun because we're really not talking about a lot of basketball tonight. We do this for every game. I'm not often here. When I'm at the arena, I will check in pregame and try to check in postgame. One of the things we'll do in postgame tonight is I'm going to share my screen on the Zoom call, so you guys will get all of the post-game press conference availabilities. Not all of it is on TV, so we're going to give it all to you in its entirety. That is one of the things I think we do that no one else does. Usually you're going to see different people from TPL on here on different nights. It's not always me. It's not always Austin. Tonight, you just happen to have Austin and I checking in. It's a road game. We're the two that are on all the Zoom calls, which is weird because we're talking less about the game than probably Justin or Dibler or any of those guys. But yeah,
if you would like,
I'm glad it's somewhat entertaining while we talk about random stuff.
If you would like us to do actual work and see our actual work, you should follow us on Twitter, where we post all of our stories, our film breakdown, and some pretty horrific takes, and the occasional dad joke.
Yep.
And if you would like to Venmo me, you may.
Wow.
I would gladly disperse all tips and amongst my coworkers.
That's wild. Are you going to start an OnlyFans or something?
I've been thinking about it, but for that, just like you log in, I make like a very seductive banner. And then you click into it, and then it's just like, "Welcome to the film room with Austin Krell." And I have like a stick.
Oh, it's so great. Well, just Patreon.
I have a ruler stick, and I'm just like slapping it against the screen. Like, this is where you go at this play. And that's supposed to be over there.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be great. Hey, by the way, tomorrow here, Jamonte, we're both credentialed. I know it doesn't seem like it because we're at home tonight, but we're both credentialed reporters. So I'm not allowed. I'm not physically allowed to show my credential, but here it is. Here's one of them.
You can't allowed to show your credential?
So what's that? No, you can't. Can't
I guess they don't want you. I guess they want people screenshotting and trying to like print it out. And
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we got the plastic. So we're legit, even though we're relaxed and not as professional tonight. I'm in a pink hoodie, but we are credentialed, so we have access to the Zoom calls. We're at practices in normal non-pandemic year. We're at games and practices at the practice facility. We cover the G League as well. So, these are all guys we know in person, we see, we talk to, and Shake has come alive. Yeah. So yeah, that's how we have access. We've been doing this a while, so it's been fun for us, and we've got a great community here at TPL. We love the community here. That's probably that's what I love more than anything. So these live streams, even though they are exhausting at times, we love it. There is an energy. We love seeing what you guys care about. And we try to fold that into our questions sometimes. And I think we saw that last time I was on a live stream. What's this question? When we pay you, we can demand laser focus. less more analysis.
If you pay me and you pay me like, let's say $45,000 to $50,000 a year, I will give you my full attention every single day for 12 hours a day.
That's a bargain.
The Sixers are now up 11, so I think we might be seeing them just ever so slightly say we would like to win this game.
Yeah, and I Ben, I know that we're not doing play-by-play, but honestly, I can't do play-by-play as well.
We should try that. That would be so fun.
No, first of all, we're all on different time delays. I can't do it as well as Mark Zumov. If you want play-by-play, you should just get Mark and Allah.
Mark Zumov is by far the best in the league at it. He's by far the best local guy. Nationally, I guess like the best overall is probably going to be Mike Breen, but Zumov is top of the line.
Oh, if you see like he'll do Olympics, women's Olympic games, and he just makes it entirely watchable. Like, Zumov's the best, and a great guy, like genuinely great dude off the air, just literally a great.
Fun fact: he actually considered buying my house at the Shore. Okay. He toured it and then decided not to buy it. But
but with in our defense, we pretty much called this game early on when everyone was freaking out and they were down by 8 points. I mean, did we kind of call how this game would play out?
A Sixers fan freaking out? What? When does that ever happen?
Huge block by Dwight there. I do hesitate with the play-by-play just because I don't want to spoil what's happening. Just don't want to spoil it for anyone who's a little bit behind.
Jason, they got to get more out of Thibault. Like, good kid, really good defender.
What did you think of? Yeah, I know. We talked about it 15 minutes ago. Josh Jackson.
I was here for that conversation. I remember it very well.
Good. Josh Jackson, what were your thoughts pre-draft on Josh Jackson? A lot of people wanted him at 3 before the Sixers made that trade to go to number 1. A lot of Josh Jackson people.
So my thing with Josh Jackson was this: like, the ceiling people told me about was like, and this is from like a scout that I learned from, and he now works for the Lakers. But his argument was his ceiling is Paul George. And while I can kind of see it, I thought that the distance between, like, his most likely outcome, the distance from Paul George was far greater than it was from his floor. And I think he's kind of topped out at like a tweener between like 3 different positions. He can't really shoot. He's really athletic, not a lockdown defender. So like, what does he really do?
You know who my comp was for him though?
What?
And you got to think back to, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago when he was drafted? Andrew Wiggins. And to me, it was like, at college, both Kansas guys, but they had the sort of point forwardy, court vision, unselfish, do a lot of things, defend well. But did they have like the finer offensive game to really dominate? I wasn't sure. I think, where did the passing and sort of point forward aspect of Josh Jackson's game go? I have no idea. It just never materialized at the NBA level. So
Right.
maybe he had the same problem of an Okafor, which is, his handle was good in college, vision good in college, couldn't adapt to the speed and the tighter windows of the NBA. You see this a lot with quarterbacks where they look good with wide open windows. When the windows tighten up, they just fall apart. They're looking at a clear path, or
I think a flagrant.
That is a flagrant.
I thought it was a flagrant. We've called that before.
He didn't make a play on the ball.
That's absolutely a flagrant foul.
Yeah. I didn't see any play. He didn't even reach for the ball.
So for me in that draft, it was as follows.
Okay.
I said that I felt Lonzo Ball reminded me of Russell Westbrook. My reasoning for that was that I saw one highlight of Lonzo Ball going full court and just dunking on somebody. I was like, all right, that's enough. I think I know.
Wait, how much college basketball do you watch?
Well, keep in mind, this was like my transition from fan to media happened very, very, very like quickly and unexpectedly. So like before, I didn't really watch it from like an analytical perspective. I would just kind of watch it for like the wows of it and the joy of watching basketball. But like I remember explicitly seeing like one highlight of Lonzo just going full court and just yamming on somebody. I was like, okay, this guy's Russell Westbrook. And then I remember having to Google his jump shot because I had never seen it. I was like, ooh, that's sketchy. I like Dennis Smith Jr. a lot. I think like I remember thinking Lonzo was my favorite in the draft, but with the pick that they had, I would have taken Tatum at 3. And then when they traded the pick, I still would have taken Tatum at 1.
Well, they were never going to get Tatum, ever. The Celtics were never trading the number 1 pick unless they knew for sure that the Sixers were taking Fultz and that Lonzo was going to LA. And I think everyone knew that Lonzo was going to LA.
I don't even know if the Lakers ever actually wanted to take him, but more it was the Hollywood kind of thing.
So this is that period of time where we talked about a little bit earlier where the Pistons will then make it tight again before the Sixers close the door. And I think we're in that zone right now. It's not that there's no risk here of falling apart, but this is like the way that an NBA game flows. This is the point where the worst team makes a little run and the better team tends to close the door. And if the Sixers don't consistently close the door at this point in the game, then you start to worry. Once in a while, it's going to fall apart, but it really shouldn't. If we're predicting how this game would go, we're pretty close here, right? We talked about early that teams, these are players not in the scouting report. They're going to get a jump on you. Then the better team figures out what they're trying to do, takes it away. Then the third quarter, Detroit has another opportunity to make a run with energy. And then the Sixers slowly reel them back in and put them away. We should be in that sort of zone where you start to put the team away. And it's really over these next 3 minutes, Detroit really has to probably get in front by 4 points for this to look like a shaky game.
Tobias has had a really quiet night, 14-4.
Bryant, if you like watching dudes beat the shit out of each other, go ahead, put a watch party out. There's nothing interesting about watching two dudes laying on the ground beating the shit out of each other.
I disagree.
Nothing interesting. I don't find it interesting at all. I don't understand it. As a spectator, I don't get the appeal at all. I get the appeal of boxing. There's a technical aspect. I don't get the appeal of MMA at all.
I like seeing dudes' ears get bitten.
Okay. Marquise, the good thing about the game is the Sixers will now have film on the Pistons, clean up the little things, second meeting, come prepared. I think that's exactly right. The only thing that derails that is health or guys losing focus while they're on a road trip. It's the only thing that would derail that. Doc Rivers talked about that a little bit in pregame around the challenges in the bubble and things like that. Teams that aren't super close off the court on these kind of road trips, maybe you worry a little bit about it. But on court, you're absolutely right. They should watch this. They should be thinking about, what the Pistons were able to do to be successful, close those things off. The Pistons just can't beat the Sixers in as many different ways as the Sixers can beat the Pistons. So you would think that the Sixers would have a big advantage in game 2.
The Sixers can beat them with one hand. They can beat them with both hands, with one leg. Pistons need 3 guys to be out to have a chance.
Okay.
That's why I'm the reporter.
Yep.
Ryan, I think as a CEO, you should pay for us to have pay-per-view access to this fight. Jason doesn't agree, but I think you could. See, this is your fault because you put the questions up on the screen and then you quickly go away from them.
I mishit. We had one. I clicked on the thing. MMA is technical at the highest levels, but it can be 90% flailing. I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about the sport. It's not interesting enough for me to want to learn more about it. To me, I don't look. I don't find it interesting. What can I tell you?
You guys think that Jason has time for this plus his own life plus MMA? Come on.
There's always a way to make time for things. I could show you. I don't buy the I don't have time for things. It's never something it's just never been something I would spend any time thinking about. One of my best friends growing up was a wrestler, an Olympic wrestler, and I just never found wrestling to be interesting. I was a boxing fan when I was a teenager, for sure, in awe of the force of nature that Mike Tyson was. But aside from that, like I don't know. You know who's a big MMA guy? Dave Scholler, head of communications for the Sixers and for the New Jersey Devils. Dave is a big MMA guy. Just not my thing.
Fair enough. Soccer, badminton, water polo, tennis, hockey are not my things. So
I played soccer all my life. I don't have any desire really to watch other people play the game. But to me, the game is similar in a lot of ways to hockey and to basketball. I just think basketball gives you a lot of the same elements in a much more compact game with just the passes are crisper. It's just more condensed version of the same basic game as hockey and soccer.
Did you know that Mason Plumlee has fouled out of his 4th straight game and 5th of his last 7?
He must think he plays in the 90s Big East or the 80s Big East.
See, here's the thing with NHL, and especially Flyers fans. Flyers fans can't fathom the idea that, like, another sport, like, the Flyers diehards can't fathom that, like, basketball exists, and they get very, very, like, hateful about it, and they kind of, like, turn you off to the sport, in my experience.
It's weird being in the arena, like, on 2 nights where the Sixers play the night before and then the Flyers play. It is completely different fan bases for games that aren't all that different. They just aren't all that different, really, when you think about it. You're creating passing lanes, you're creating turnovers. Some of the detailed rules are different. You have a rim protector that is allowed to stand under the rim in hockey. You have some defensive rules in basketball that create the scoring that you see, right? Defensive 3 seconds, illegal defenses, fouls, things like that, just create a much more offensively oriented game than hockey. But at the bones of it, they're basically the same sport. And you're right. It's like 2 different entire populations. Very few people are like Greg who can watch both. I don't mind watching hockey. I actually like it in the arena most of the time, but on TV, I don't love it anymore. I used to watch a lot more.
So,
yep. So this is exactly right? So I've also played a lot of roller hockey, and hockey is pick and roll cycle. There's so many similar elements to the sports.
So for me, it's that, like, I cover basketball now, and I treat it like a job, essentially, or it is a job for me, essentially. And so it leaves me very little time to watch other sports when there isn't basketball on, which there's always basketball on. So, but I'm not doing that. I'm usually socializing, believe it or not, or I'm watching TV. So that's why hockey
So
never.
what are your okay? By the way, Bryant just shouted out that apparently our Flyers watch party is over. So we have some people coming over from that. So welcome to that. We are down the stretch. Who's the best hooper in the podcast group? It's Bryant Baker, no doubt. No offense, Austin.
I don't even think
I'd have to watch you run a pick and roll.
I am a underrated facilitator.
Yeah, okay. But I've played with Bryant. I know his pedigree, and I know his win-loss record at the G League tryout. So
Bryant also hasn't had an ACL surgery yet.
Yeah, so,
Bryant
has
torn ACL from like 16 years ago.
No,
so,
actually he has. So actually his knee was reconstructed. But
really?
Yes.
When did that happen?
Listen, if you were a real hooper and a real reporter, you'd already know all this. Don't come out of here just spitting speculation. Knee reconstructed.
I talk to agents all day. I don't have time to talk to Brian about his knee surgery.
I hear a lot of excuses. But yeah. But it's Bryant. I have not played with Brock. I don't know what kind of player Brock is. Don't know. I've gotten a scouting report on Austin. That's the only reason we haven't played together. It's the only reason I even weigh in. Don't know about Brock as a player.
I'm definitely the type to try to get automatically to try to force an ejection if I get bored. So if you're not passing to me, I'm probably going to yell at a ref and get the round.
Yeah. Marquise, I agree with you, but this is how NBA games go. I'm sure you've seen a lot of them. They tend to be within striking distance and with the last 4 minutes, and then the better team tends to pull away. You want to give a quick recap so far?
The Sixers have outscored the Pistons by 5 tonight.
All right. So it's a 5-point game with 4 minutes left, and I think a few minutes ago, when it was about 7 minutes, I said that the Pistons really needed to take over a lead heading into that last 4 minutes. They needed to be up by probably 4 or 5. They're not up by 4 or 5. This is sort of closeout time. You're starting to get into the period of time where the Pistons are going to have to start launching some threes, and barring Svi Mihalik or Ellington or someone really just going 4 for 4 down the stretch from 3, it's going to be really tough on them. So this is the area of the game where better teams tend to put away worse teams. Not rebounding the ball and missing all your shots, or turning the ball over, not getting back in defense, transition defense. Those things aren't good, but again, this tends to be how these games go. You don't want Danny Green ball handling at the top of the arc with 4 minutes left. You don't want Tobias Harris ball handling. You do want Danny Green corner threes and Joel Embiid rebounds. I gotta ask, why are they not feeding the post here? There's a lot of Tobias Harris dribbles, a lot of Danny Green dribbles. Don't love it. Don't think that should be their go-to at this point in the game. Where's the two-man game action with Curry and Embiid? Why are they not feeding the post and running that action? Not loving their approach right now. Honestly, don't love it at all, really. Very nice hesitation dribble there. Who's that? Oh, Josh Jackson with a hezzy layup. Very, very nice.
Their pick and roll defense has been very shoddy tonight. Embiid's been kind of timid and unsure of whether to step up or to drop, and they've been kind of the Pistons have been juicing some points at the rim that they shouldn't be able to get.
Yep. Josh Jackson playing crunch time. Let me look at his minutes. Is he getting more minutes this year? He was in the.
I gotta be honest, this is kind of feeling like a loss to me.
Josh Jackson is playing 22.7 minutes with 6 starts this year, and 11 points per game, shooting 40% from the field. This feels like a loss to you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They've still got the lead. It doesn't feel like a loss to me. All right, Embiid in the post. Dream shake. Wow. Wow.
He's so damn good. He is just so damn good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was an unbelievable move.
That's Hakeem. I'll tell you what. This is what they really should have done. This
once he like commits himself to like, I'm gonna stay down and I'm gonna like keep you away from the rim. It's basically impossible to get a rebound over him.
Not going to win any playoff. Yeah, but playoff series and games are totally different than this. There's a lot of unknown. There's just a ton of unknown players that are able to get things off because they're just not in their scouting report. This is not how playoff basketball works.
I guess his tailbone is better tonight, considering he just took a charge.
I've had players tell me that they would never take a charge. And
Really?
I love charges. Yeah. Yeah.
Who?
I'm not going to say.
Here, say it in the private chat.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. I love it. I don't think the chance for any real injury is nearly as big as
I think I've taken one charge in my life.
wow, no call. Oh, okay. Wait, did they what just happened here? So you got a 4-point lead. I think that was a foul. I don't have the volume on, so I don't know what just got called. So was that a travel? Was that a foul? Was that a timeout? I don't know what that was. 49 seconds left. Sixers are up 4 again. This is just the ugly side of a road game in Detroit. Sort of the middle of the regular season against an opponent where you barely know. You're playing against guys that have barely played. You don't have film on them. Yep, Embiid showing against White. He's definitely an MVP candidate. I think he affects the game both in the spectacular ways that a lot of the other guys do, and also in many of the smaller ways on the defensive side. To me, he's definitely one of the top candidates for MVP. And Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know how the media views centers that are huge deterrent type rim protectors where people don't even challenge them versus guys that get a lot of weak side blocks. Because I think Embiid's value as a rim protector goes far beyond his block percentage. Just to the fact that one of the things we talked about it earlier, the Sixers give up a lot of those mid-range pull-ups to small guards. Well, the reason that those guards want to take the pull-up mid-range middies against the Sixers is because they don't want to actually close the gap and go to the rim against the Sixers. So he inherently makes the other team less efficient, even when he's not directly involved in the play. Yeah, just road games in Detroit. I don't know. It's I never expect blowouts with this team. I don't know that they're really built to blow teams out. There are going to be nights where everything's falling and everything works offensively, but they're more built to grind you down and beat you late, generally.
He missed the first free throw.
So watch his knees. Watch his knees. See that bend? He wasn't doing that as a rookie. So that dip, that rhythm, those are all elements that he's added that are completely normal for anyone else. But he was stiff-legged and trying to isolate everything from his elbow out as a rookie in second year. He's becoming more normal in his mechanics and his rhythm. And those are the things you want to see. If you want to project where does he go as a shooter, You have to see those kind of things added to his game. Hopefully, whoever complained that we were talking about too much music, we're now talking about enough of the actual game for you. Kevin, thanks for joining us. We're going to have post game. We will stream the Zoom media availability after the game. We are going to close this out just for Chris Deibler's sanity, and I will open up a new stream for post game, just so that we have two different videos. Some people just come in tomorrow and watch our post game analysis. So they're not here. Those of you who've been with us for the last 3 hours, thank you. Those of you who are just joining us, thank you as well. We will have post game. Austin's going to do all the talking in that one. He's going to give us the wrap up, and I'll just manage the Zoom. But you'll get to see Doc Rivers talk, probably Joel. My guess is, probably Tobias as well.
I'm going to ask a question.
Huge play by Jeremy Grant. Huge play by Jeremy Grant.
Wait, he was fouled?
Mark, I'm going to try to, let me think about how I would actually do that. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate that.
Can I stay on here and then also ask a question in the Zoom?
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did last time. Yeah, you'll have to. Well, let's think about it, because you'll have to mute, because I'm going to be sharing.
I might do it on my other computer.
Okay. What are you thinking about asking?
Whether this is an energy problem on the road where they aren't locked in from the jump, or this is this team is better than their record says.
I think is this team better than their record says is probably good. So you're putting the ball in Seth Curry's hands. One of the values of Curry to this team is, while he's not really a point guard. So for everyone, I'm actually in this studio. I can't jump out to give you the link to the other one. So just turn on your notifications, and you'll get a notification that we're going live when I open up the other. As soon as this game goes final, I'm going to close this one down. We're going to say goodbye. I'm going to open up the other, and you'll get a notification that we're live, and we'll be right back. We're really just doing this to make our editor's life a little bit easier for cutting this, so we have two separate videos to show you for people who just want to see post-game analysis. So Ben hitting clutch free throws, right? So going back to the Seth Curry thing, one of the reasons you get Seth Curry is great shooter, great spacer, competent ball handler at the end of the game. In case teams want to do a hack-a-Ben, you have a guy that they will not put on a free throw. Now, Ben getting fouled and making his free throws basically wins this game. This is 2 games in a row, I could argue, in the last 4 minutes. Ben Simmons has won you a game and put an opponent away in different ways. So, it's we critique him a lot. We have high expectations for Ben, but these are the signs that there's progress, there's hope. This is why we should hold him to a high standard. We shouldn't have this infantilized argument that, but he's good. Yeah, he's good. He is good, and he has holes that can be closed up. I think it's okay to hold him to a high standard. It shouldn't be a he's good versus he's bad and garbage a conversation. It should be he's very good with holes in his game. Yeah, no, I mean Joel carried them, but Ben making those 2 free throws is absolutely vital because it's something the other team wanted. They wanted to put him at the line down 2, and they did put him at the line, and he converted, and that's to me, that's the difference in the game. There you go. Play the music, Sadie. All right, we're going to dump out. Thank you to everyone. Turn on notifications. We'll be right back. We'll have a lot more people streaming in. I'm going to end now. Goodbye. See you.